when I get comfortable, bombs start coming.
He's carpet
You know, I'm
bomb. Yeah.
among people I trust and people who are friends when I just start dropping.
He's carpet
You know,
bomb.
I'm
Yeah.
among people I trust and people who are.
Okay, welcome everybody to Chalice and Chains. My name is Sam, and oh my god, I have some live streamed RPG content for the first time in 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
We're going to be playing Dark Age of Man, which these two fine gentlemen, Jason and Dell, have created together, along with input and help from many others in the community. And
Yes.
this is quickly becoming my favorite role-playing game system.
Hot dog.
Because of the way that it handles.
We'll discount the book for you,
Thank
Sam.
you. Yeah,
Okay.
once you get that full art version in there, let me know and I'll get it. But so we're streaming this on my channel. The recorded version will be up on Roleplay Cafe, which is where it normally will live. But we're going to live stream it here today just to see how it goes. And
Yes.
what we typically do is we'll have the game session that usually lasts about 2 hours, might go a little longer, might go a little less. And then we have a little bit of post-game banter. And then we will, of course, split that into 2 parts so you can watch both of those. And again, the recordings will be up on Roleplay Cafe. So before we jump into the session, I'll let these gentlemen introduce themselves and who they're playing, and then we will get right into it. So Jason, if you want to go first, or
yeah, I'm playing Janice of London, a merchant here in Dredgewater, peddling his rare spices. I also play the second character, Yami, or an NPC, so to speak, backup character, a bodyguard for my character, the merchant.
All right. I'm Dell. I'm playing Brother Boethius, who is a local monk that's inhabited this town since what was the priest before Aethelwald?
Falcone?
I'm drawing a blank. Falcone.
Falcone,
Yes.
Falcone, yeah.
Falcone.
gangster?
Yeah. Since him. All right. So I tend the orchards and carrier pigeons and the gardens, and but I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone, or so it would seem, with Janice here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and just for anybody watching, this is a bit of a continuation of the 4-session Chronicle that Jason ran for us on Roleplay Cafe, where I played at the time Brother Aethelwald. And so if you have had a chance to watch that, some of the characters will be familiar. And if you haven't and you're a little bit lost, go ahead and watch that, and everything will be revealed. And then the last thing I'll say in the meta, so to speak, is generally we are going to it's pretty much just role play and a little bit of dice rolling, but there's not a lot of heavy mechanics. I'm not going to be really taking any time to explain anything because it's pretty self-explanatory, and I'm pretty sure Jason has done a lot of videos on explaining how the system works.
I'm good at explaining.
All right. So, without further ado, let's do it. So, in the first session, we basically ended with a mob of religious fanatics, Christian religious fanatics, that are concerned and or maybe taking advantage of the situation of Bishop Aethelwald being missing. And there was a smaller group of pagans that came out. They're better armed, but they're a much smaller group who came out to kind of meet these religious fanatics because they were concerned about what would happen if these guys got out of control, because they remember the events of 3 years ago when the previous Lord of Dredgewater had instituted pogroms against the pagans. Subsequently, since his son took over, of course, there has been a peace, but it seems it was a short one piece. And so now the the merchant Janus of London and his Arab bodyguard, Yami, have decided to pick a fight with he looks like a Dane, but I believe he is, at least we believe that he is Lord Eric, or Alderman Eric of Howard Town's man, and he might be a shady character. So Yami tried to violently apprehend him, but this man was a much tougher combatant than maybe was initially thought. And as violence broke out between those two, it set off a powder keg, so to speak, and now everybody is fighting. And so before we jump into the action, I'll just say one more thing. The mob of religious fanatics is made up of a few of the leaders, right? One of them seems to be of the clergy, and some of them may be lay people, but are kind of affiliated. But the majority of them are just citizens that seem to kind of, got caught up in this rabble, but are definitely Christian. They're not well armed. They don't have armor. They might be carrying, some of them may have torches. Some of them may have, a pitchfork or a spade or like a kitchen knife or something, right? Whatever they might have. But the pagan group, which is much smaller, they are armed. They have swords or they have spears or whatever, and at least some semblance of armor. It probably wouldn't be high quality, but it would be enough. So, you're looking at probably 20 to 30 religious fanatics, maybe 10 to 12, probably more like 8 of the pagans, and there's about, I think, 6 of the town guard, and then you guys. And so with that, as fighting starts and you start hearing the yelling and the cursing of these fanatics as some of them rush in to fight the pagans, some of them rush in to fight the town guard, some of them stand back like, whoa, we didn't actually want to fight anybody, we just wanted to be part of this crowd. There's chaos. And so you see Henry at this point, who was in between the two sides going like this. He gets out because they start rushing. And so he knows he can't stop it by himself. So he kind of jumps out of the way before the two sides clash. But it is in that moment that the first blood is shed. We're not quite sure who got cut yet, but there has been bloodshed. And so that's the scene that we open up on. And so you guys let me know. Maybe we'll start with Boethius, since you were there. You were clanging on that bell, trying to get everybody's attention. You see Henry make it out, and he's kind of scrabbling over to you, or towards your direction anyway, yelling, "Stop, this isn't the way." So what?
This way, Henry, this way. I'm going to back up, and then I'm going to start working my way to the door of the monastery.
Okay.
And call in the brethren, call in the faithful, and I'll open the door and see how much I can attract any attention, and how much he can affectionately do the same.
Yeah. And so some of the monks or the whatever, there's probably no nuns in this particular place. There might be a separate little nunnery for them, but right now it's just monks. Yeah. And so some of them joined in with the fanatics. Some of them stayed in the chapel, and some of them seem to just kind of be watching, but they're nervous, right? And so they don't. If you're calling, hey, we need to rally, they don't want to have anything to do with it. At least the ones that are still in the church, they are, cowardly without their normal leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, choose this day. I'm offering them sanctuary, and I'll start boarding up the place as soon as we get in there. As soon as I know that nobody else is running toward the place, yeah, that's what I'm gonna start doing.
Yeah,
locking it down, patting the,
Yeah, and you kind of notice that the throng has shifted so that the religious mob is kind of more close to the church, with the intention that they don't want anything to happen to it. But probably that nobody's intentionally gonna do anything to harm the church, because it hasn't been. There's no need to. It's been a good thing for everybody so far. But yes, you can start to kind of board it up. Henry, though, is like, no, we don't have to worry about that. We have to stop this. And you see Vidar just like swinging this mace. He's trying not to hit anybody, but he's like waving it around, see, stop, and he's probably going to start thumping people soon if they don't back down. But the mob is just riled up. And so are you, Boethius, going to continue to kind of barricade as well as you can the church and try to make it safe for the brothers and for Henry and all that?
They choose this day where they stand Henry. I'm telling him that, okay, as I, shuttering the windows and the doors or whatnot. Okay. So, I'll keep a lookout if anybody's running to the church to let them in, but
sure. Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and so then the scene would almost shift over to first to Yami and this great big Dane-looking guy, right? And Yami kind of came in with his scimitar and his dagger, and this Dane has like this Saxon like short sword right out, and he like, as he kind of squares up with Yami, they're probably about equal in size. They both look pretty ferocious in their own way, right? Yami being a bit mysterious because he's from far off in the Middle East, wearing different clothes, but very formidable. And this Dane just scary like Danes look, and he's got the battle fury on him now. And he sort of starts circling a little bit. And Yami is in that dance with him. Mm-hmm. And basically this Dane is trying to encourage him, like, yes, come on, fight me. And so what would Janus and or Yami, how would you guys be reacting to this scene?
Janus looking on as the rain's, of course, starting to fall, and he sees now that it is Yami was this wasn't an easy task to hamstring him and drag him to me.
Yeah.
And I see the chaos break out. You look at Samantha, which we're standing out front of Goldleaf Inn in the rain, and I look at Samantha to the Blackleaf Inn. There were many rabble rousers celebrating. Get them. We may have a problem. And I will then draw my flat, my flat sword, double-edged flat sword, wheezing, look up into the rain and start heading down toward the battle as Yami circles in the rain and can't speak any of this language, but he knows the motion for bring it on. And so Yami will come full bore with both weapons, drawing his best defense with the large weapon, and then hoping to maybe skewer him in the thigh or the ribs with the dagger.
All right.
In a quick 2-step rush.
Fantastic. So go ahead and if he's going to attack, go ahead and make Yami's attack roll against this Dane.
It's going to be 9 total, 6 + 3.
Okay. Cool. All right. So yes, he manages to. What did you describe? What he was doing? He was trying to hamstring him.
So he's bringing his scimitar, forcing him to use his weapon to defend the scimitar, and while he does so, would take advantage of that to stab him in the thigh.
Okay.
Trying basically to wound him and cripple him enough that I can negotiate a better physical dominance over him.
Yeah, and so, as that happens, right, and as there's the clang of Yami's blade meeting the sax, he blocks it. The Dane goes to pivot to kind of get out of the way, but because the road is starting to turn from that dirt into mud, he slips a little bit. And as he slips, his leg comes out, and Yami's able to take advantage of that and stabs the dagger into his leg. The Dane just lets out, it is a yell of pain, but you can also see now that he's not like grimacing, he's sneering. He's starting to get excited. He's not excited. He's starting to get the battle fury on him. And if anybody has witnessed the Dane battle fury, it's scary.
A stoic, professional demeanor. There is no emotion in Yami. This is he's seen it all before.
Awesome. Right? Yep. Okay. And so what's going to happen then is I almost imagine Yami barely manages to pull the dagger back out as the Dane regains his footing, and as one of the I guess it would be one of the pagans is kind of near him. The pagan kind of gets in front of him, and he basically just like knocks the pagan in the head, to kind of knock him out. And he takes the spear basically right out of his hand, and with holding the spear in one hand and his his sword in the other hand, his short sword, he gives out this. And he tries to come at Yami to make an attack on him. So if Yami can roll a body roll, it's probably Yami is focused and he knows the Dane is injured, so it's probably not going to be a terribly difficult thing. But this is a seasoned fighter and he's got the battle rage. So
12 plus 3 body, so 15.
Did you roll a natural 12?
Which is critical success for me.
Okay.
You want to see it?
No, I believe you.
It's beautiful.
No, I love it.
So with that, Yami squares up and he sees while he wrestles the spear away, Yami waits until he tries to strike with that spear, and I just kick the poor pagan right back into the spear.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
So we're using this pagan as a puppet now between us, and I boot in the rain this pagan back onto his spear thrust.
Yeah, and I think
killing the pagan instantly with his critical hit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the pagan whom the Danes stole the
Right. So
Okay,
while he's caught between us, while he wrestles
right.
the spear away and then comes after me, I just boot the pagan
Yeah.
right onto his spear.
And what ends up happening is it takes the Dane down onto his back as the pagan kind of falls on him, and you can hear the spear shaft break as it kind of like impales on the ground. And for a moment, you know, the Dane is just, you know, he's trying to shove this now dead pagan off of him. But definitely that he's down, he's prone. So yeah, how are you guys gonna deal with that?
First, I'll say that Boethius goes up to the altar after he's shuddered a bit. I waited a little bit of chance to do that. Yeah. And he'll take out fish out his holy symbol and kneel before the altar, kiss it, and look up and pray that the Lord stay with his champions, the rightful, the righteous, you know, and please illuminate that for me as I'm doing that. So I'll say a prayer for that end.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, so we'll go back to the scene in the street here, and what do Yami and Janus do?
Janus is working his way as fast as he can, having a chronic illness as he does. He can only go so fast, you know, and maintain any kind of integrity of endurance. So working through the mud, down across, sizing up Yami's advantage, seeing what's going on, keeps the sword at his ready, but he'll stay on the edges of this, as he may have to step in and double team this giant Dane if so, but Janus won't engage unless there's a need or an opportunity. So Janus is waiting back, and if he has to, he'll strike from behind, so to speak. Right. Yami is going to step on top of this dead pagan, 1 foot on the dead pagan, pushing his body weight down on top of the Dane.
Yeah.
And with the scimitar, try to cut the sword arm, either disarm him or literally cut his hand off at the sword on the sword arm.
Yeah, the Dane can't do anything, so Yami can do whatever he wants to in that case.
Oh well, I'll disarm him then. I don't want to maim him.
Sure.
But I want to completely disarm him.
Yep.
While I keep a boot and this pagan's dead body on top of him.
Yeah.
And make eye contact with him in the rain, and basically nod my head, you know, slowly.
Yeah. And as you do that, the Dane looks up to you, and he's reaching for his sword, but his fingers can't quite make he can't grip it. I think at that moment, there's this crack of thunder and the bright flash of lightning, right, as like a storm is starting to come, and like for a minute, standing almost right behind this Dane, probably Yami would see it too, but Janus would definitely see it. It's this vision of some holy man. You don't know who it is, but he looks like he could be a priest or perhaps, like, I don't know, maybe he's the Pope or something. But anyway, it's definitely a Christian holy figure. And he's like holding his hand out almost as in a stop motion to you, and just as you start to like kind of blink your eyes against that flash of light, it's gone. And so you don't know if this was a real figure, one of the brothers, what the heck just happened, but there was definitely that. And I will say, Boethius, as that crack of lightning, because you would have seen the light right outside of the windows, and you would have heard the thunder crack, and for just a moment, and you would see that, and for just a moment, standing behind the altar, you could swear that you saw Bishop Aethelwald in his full, bishop gear.
This startles me. I'll backpedal and fall on my rump.
Yeah.
And push myself back and open my eyes several times and try to clear them. And I'm visibly, I don't know if anybody entered the abbey with me, but I'm visibly shaken at this moment. I get up and I'm shaking. The cross is hanging around my neck, and my hand reaches idly down into the pocket where I dropped the thing, and it almost feels, in my mind, too hot to touch. Maybe bearing some guilt or whatever to me.
Mm-hmm.
I take my hand out. Sweat is starting to profusely come up down my face,
Mm-hmm.
and I walk over, still shaking with the holy symbol in my hand, and look out of a window, halfway boarded up window,
Mm-hmm.
and out there I see where this foreigner that I saw with the bodyguard, and I'll see the man that I had entrusted my travels with, the head up north, standing there above this, what appears to be some kind of a paganistic Norse,
Mm-hmm.
laying there. And I muttered to myself, may chance the Lord can use the ignorance for his glory. Glory be the Lord. And I'll kiss it, but I'm shaking the holy symbol. And I kind of glance over my shoulder at where I saw the vision or whatever, and clear my eyes, because it was a dazzling white light that just struck through there with that. And for the moment, I'm just shaking, and I'm watching the rest of the battle and trying to see where the rest of this lies.
Yeah. And so the Dane is down, Yami standing over him, Janus looking on and having seen whatever it was, right? And the battle, right, if you want to call it that, the scrum, the whatever, it starts to shift. Vidar is and the guard, along with the pagans, are starting to take control. A couple of the religious fanatics have gone down. There's very few people that have died. One of the pagans obviously did, and a couple of the religious fanatics, but they realized very quickly that most of their followers were not up for a fight. They had no desire to fight. They were just scared. They were angry, whatever. And so it quickly turned from they had the numbers to, oh gosh, we don't actually have fighters. And so the battle is, they're starting to stand down. And you'll hear off in the distance it sounds like more people are coming into the town square at this point. But we'll shift it back to Janus for a moment. And these voices are getting closer, probably behind you at this point, but they are not quite there yet. But you've definitely noticed that Yami has subdued the Dane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blinking away and wiping with his tunic, his rain from his eyes, not certain he actually saw what he saw. He will say in Arabic to again, over the throng in Arabic, I will issue an order to Yami to subdue, apprehend this man, and then I will say in English to the Dane lying there, you have been bested. Give yourself up peacefully. And I'm assuming the throng behind me is those that I asked Samantha to fetch. So I'm not turning to look to see who's coming. Janus believes that's probably the work of Samantha, bringing people to the event.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll order Yami to stand to basically apprehend him, and I'll tell the Dane not to fight, or he is finished.
Right.
Or the North or whatever he is, but.
Yeah. And you speak to him in like the Saxon tongue, the English tongue?
Yeah, I speak to him in the tongue we use here in Dredgewater.
Sure. Yep. Sure. And he kind of looks over to you. The rain is kind of batting down on his face. His hair is all matted, and he kind of spits next to him. And you can definitely tell some like blood comes out. He looks to you and he says, yeah, if it wasn't for this cursed rain and that man, Oh, I would have bested both of you, and I would have split you from belly to gullet. He's like, what is it that you want? Why not just kill me?
As he says all this, Yami's picking him up onto his feet, with a dagger in his ribs, and he's pulling him up with his right hand onto his feet, to face me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then Janus will walk over and cut loose the purse of the money that he had been paid, and I'll cut that loose and hold it up. This has bought this rabble, has it not? And who supplied this plan and this silver?
And almost to punctuate the words that you just spoke, you hear now the group that had been coming into the town square, and you hear a familiar voice. It's Alderman Eric saying, "What is going on here? What has happened to my companion, to my man here? Has he been accosted? Vidar, you must explain to me what is going on." And so, go ahead.
Boethius opens at the door. He's still somewhat shaken. He walks out.
Mm-hmm.
And I will go, since you said the crowd is somewhat dispersed, right? So I'm trying to go around to each person and tell them, that they need to go home. They need to disperse, as it were. And I'll be going along doing that while I'm keeping a side-eye view of what's going on with their situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and you could tell the mood. I mean, the pagans are angry because one of their own died. They don't know necessarily how he died, although one of them does say, starts kind of yelling like, "Oh, it was the outsiders. We must get them out of here. They're causing trouble," right? And the two main rabble rousers, the two main religious fanatics, have been subdued. One is injured, one is not, but they have been basically tied, hands behind their back. They're going to be taken to the jail or whatever, and probably stand trial. And so many of the rest have already dispersed. They, the ones that have been the religious fanatic, they were kind of leaving. Although most people will know who they were, but they don't want to be around to face Vidar's mace. But the pagans are still there. The pagans are angry. But there is this situation, right, where Lord Eric, the Howard Town guy, he's not even really a local. He's putting out this accusation. What has happened to my man, Vidar? How have you allowed this lawlessness, right?
Okay, it's important to state that I wouldn't have approached any of the pagans.
Right.
I was only approaching
Just
the other ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and telling them to disperse.
Yep.
God has already decided and will decide the future, and then I'll glance toward where they are. But I'll kind of steer clear of the pagans.
Yeah. You find that the people in this town are very much of the same mind as you. You say we should do this thing, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. Right? They're already leaving. They're already like, oh, we got to get out of here. A couple of them kind of stay because they are tending to some friends, or they maybe had a change of heart or whatever. But Vidar at this point turns, and you can see like he looks like he wants to hit somebody with his mace. Like he got in a good couple of thumps, but nothing like he was used to. And he turns to the alderman and he says, Who's your man? The man down here on the ground?
I'll toss the bag of coins onto the chest of Vidar, and I'll say that coin bought this man. Eric's coin bought this man to start this trouble, and I bounce basically the coins off Vidar's chest as he asked the question. In the baggie, I'll just bounce them off his chest, and I'll point out, this is Eric's coin bought this man and started this.
And Lord Eric now looks at you, and I think, where he had thought fondly of you previously, right now he's like, how dare you? And so, he's giving you this look, and he's like, you make accusations I think he would know your name. So, Master Janus. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you are not from here. And do you have any proof that was my
You are not
coin?
from here either.
No, but I am
Lord
known
of Howard
here.
Town. You are about 15 miles east of your home.
Yeah. And you kind of get the impression that those words don't seem to maybe have the same impact that you would have thought, because it almost is like, the people are like, no, like Howard Town's okay because, that's obviously like where the Queen's mother is. That's where the girls went to for sanctuary, right? Like Howard Town's all right.
It's where the Lord's mother is.
Yes. Yep.
Wesweld's mother is there.
Right? Yes. Yeah. She's in the convent.
Right.
They don't obviously like her, but they don't speak ill of her. But as far as we know, there hasn't been a lot of conflict with Howard Town. And so he's like, yes, but Howard Town has always been a peaceful neighbor to Dredgetown, and now my man gets accosted, and I get accused by a foreigner of colluding to start a rabble. What would be the point? It looks like church did it.
Your man accepted coin and was seen starting this riot. Explain that, Eric.
And the Dane on the ground, he's trying to push the pagan off of him, and he's trying to get up. Will Yami allow him up?
Yeah, well, Yami already helped him up.
Oh, he did. Oh, he helped him up. Okay.
So he's standing there.
Oh, okay. I thought you did it on
Yami's
all right,
sword point. Yeah. Right.
Then in a very heavily accented English, right? He's like, "No, that is a lie. I was just standing here. I was watching. I didn't know what to make of the situation. And then him," and he points to Yami, "he attacked me without provocation." And some of the people at this point they're looking on, and they're like, yeah, I saw that. That is what happened. Although, and there seems to be a lot of confusion here. But Eric is, he says, "See, it was unprovoked." And at this point, you start to hear like some horns, boom, boom, and you hear footsteps coming again down into the town. But for the moment, Vidar is still kind of, his head's like a ping pong ball, like going back and forth, right? And so finally he looks over to you, Janus, and he says, "Well, what do you have to say to that?"
I'll with my sword, I'll pick up the coin pouch and I'll flip it back to the Dane. Then where did you get this coin? And why were you here pushing this rabble?
He says,
and I'll flip his coin back to him, to the Dane.
And he says, "Why was I here?" And he says, "Well, I am in the employ of Lord Eric, of course, much as your man there, but I have the better sense
to... Vidar. Yeah. He tells finally the truth. He is in the employ of Eric, and he is here causing trouble."
No, that is the part. I was causing no trouble. I was standing here. I did nothing. And now people are sort of confused.
Pagan? And I'll nudge the dead pagan with my boot, pointing it out to Vidar. And how did this pagan wind up dead?
And one of the people in the crowd yells, "Oh, well, he was kicked onto the Dane, sir. I saw it with my own eyes." And then the other one's like, "You're a bloody liar. And a drunkard." "No, I'm not." And they seem like they're going to start fighting. And then Vidar like smashes his mace down again with a loud crack. And he says, "Enough." And he says, he's kind of waiting. He's like trying to figure out what to do here, right? Because he's not a conflict mediator, right? The way he mediates conflict is a bonk to the head. But but to rescue him from this predicament, right? You hear, "Standing in the street will not resolve this issue. Please let us return back to the manor, and we will discuss this further." And you see, it's actually Lord Westweld himself, with a few of his guards. He looks very disturbed, but he says, we cannot do this out here in the rain when when blood is hot and tempers are flaring. Please Let us return and we will solve this. And
with that, Janus will sheathe his sword.
Yeah.
Pull his his tunic up, wiping the rain from his face, and he orders in Arabic, "Put your weapons away, Yami."
He does, and Lore. At this point, you'll hear another voice speak up, and it's Daedrin, and he says, you see, further lawlessness, my lord. We must call the Witten. They must decide. Is it going to be, do we believe our friend and our longtime ally from Howardtown, or these outsiders who come in and cause trouble? And Aethel, Westwell doesn't want to hear any of this. He's not going to call the Witten, because obviously that's going to be, from his perspective, that's not going to be a fair assessment, because two of these guys are on the Witten, or part of the Witten. So
right.
He's like,
well, Brother Boethius will point out to Henry, I've been looking at him like, you need to intervene at this moment. And I'll kind of lead the way to that as I step into somewhat timidly, but, because the Lord's there, and I'll look amongst them all and then speak up and say, the Lord Westwell has spoken. And I believe that God has already decided. But the Lord, and then I look back at Westwell, the Lord only needs to realize it and speak it. And I'll perchance you all go to the hall, get out of this rain. It looks like we have enough work here to do to tend these, to tend those that are injured. And then I'll back out and start helping anybody that's kind of hurt and cared, and taking them into the church, to the abbey. Yeah,
it looks like Daedrin's probably about to say something more, and then you see Alderman Eric actually hold up a hand to shush him, stop, don't, which is quite interesting if you think about it, right? This is a foreign alderman, essentially, a neighboring alderman, telling the local guy, shut up. But he sees wisdom, and he keeps quiet, and Henry will at this point, jump in, and he'll say, yes, I believe Brother Boethius is right. We should listen to our king. The king has been granted wisdom from our Lord, and obviously he was trusted by our bishop. So yes, let us go to the hall, and he will dispense justice. And I want both of you, before this happens, to go ahead and make a luck roll for me.
7 for me.
Okay.
6 + 1, 7.
Okay.
11.
Okay, so Janus, you're rather preoccupied with the prospect of, oh God, I might now be standing trial. But Boethius, as the Dane gets up and, or not gets up, I should say, they start moving, you see something in the mud down kind of near where he was. And as you kind of go down to approach it, you notice that it looks like correspondence of some kind, sealed in some kind of wax paper, so that it would, survive the rain and whatever. And if you want to, you could make a mind roll to see if you could ascertain the symbol that was pressed into the wax seal.
Of course. And I want to slip that away as soon as I'm not, if secretively, what I mean?
Yep.
In the rain, in the muck and whatever. And that's 4 with the mind.
4. Okay. You're not entirely sure where you feel like you've seen this symbol before, but you can't really place it. It's within time you would be able to figure it out, and obviously if you crack the seal, you'll probably figure it out. But for now, you're not quite sure. So will you be accompanying Janus and everybody to the manor, or will you be going about other business?
Initially, about other business, I want to bring people, the injured, if there are any, with the other brethren inside and get things situated. Let this crowd disperse,
Okay.
and then I'll let you know what I'm doing.
Okay.
You know, but that'll be a little bit of time. That'll be what I'm
Sure.
busying myself with, unless called directly.
Okay. And would Janus be walking up to the manor without any hesitation or whatever, or what would you want to do?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I would order Yami to attend at my heel.
Okay. So as that happens, you guys are walking along. You notice that the city guard, as well as the Lord's personal bodyguards, are very. I mean, they're close to you and Yami. And before you enter the manor hall, like the Lord just goes in, right, and some of his, some of the other aldermen go in, but you're stopped, both of you and Yami, and he says, "Must leave your weapons with us. Cannot enter the hall with your weapons."
Yeah, and I'll nod to Yami and in Arabic tell him to surrender his blades, and
Okay.
I'll draw my flat blade sword and hand it to him, hilt first.
Yep. And they take them, and then they look at you, and they look to Yami and say, "And that's all of them, right?"
Yes, it is indeed.
And then one looks to the other guard, and the guard nods and says, "All right, go on in then." And then, come and see me before you leave, assuming you get to leave, and I'll hand these back to you. And so you enter the hall, and it's sort of at this point, several of the aldermen who are still up, still awake, still here, right there, they are kind of assembling around the hall, and some of their retinue is there. The servants that serve Lord Westweld are kind of milling about. Does anybody need anything? At one point, you see Samantha come in, and she goes up to the Lord and whispers something in his ear, and he nods, and then she departs. And it's a few minutes go by, and Lord Eric starts speaking, right? He's like, "My lord, thank you for taking the time to hold this council and to dispense justice. I think that we should," and Westweld holds up his hand, and he says, "You've said quite enough, Lord Eric. I wish to hear from Janus of London. I came in at the very end of your story, but I want to hear from you first. Then, my lord, my alderman, you will have time to speak."
Janus takes off his overcoat, which is soaked, and he'll lay it on the floor out to dry, roll up his sleeves, and he'll walk around the circle of these onlooking aldermen, etc. First, I would call 3 witnesses to mind, your lord. The first would be Vidar, as I had approached Vidar earlier in the evening, and I told Vidar that there may be trouble afoot, as we had seen this outsider accept coin from Aeric's man, or from Daedrin's man. Daedrin accosted and said foreign, poor things in public, witnessed in public about you, Lord Westweld, and of course we allowed that to fall, assuming maybe a bit of wine in the evening upon Daedrin's tongue.
Yeah, and
second witness I would call is the monk who bore witness to Daedrin's assaults upon your lordship in public, as well as he was there when the rabble began and was ringing the bell to call help. And third, Samantha, who witnessed all with me from the front stoop of Goldleaf Inn as we watched on as this man, and I'll look upon the Dane. Matter of fact, I'll circle right up to the Dane's chest, look up at him, and say, as this man was instigating the rabble from behind, this is the man who accepted coin from Daedrin's man.
So
I'll look at Daedrin,
yeah.
and I'll turn and look at Eric, and I'll say, this is my evidence, these are my facts, and I only attempted to stop this before it started by sending my man Yami, and I'll point to Yami, who does not speak English, Lord, I can translate for you, to apprehend him and end this rabble.
And Westworld seems to be thinking over this, right? But to fill the silence, Lord Eric then pipes in and says, well, my lord, if he wishes to call witnesses, by all means he can call witnesses, but I find it disturbing that this man, this merchant from London, decided to take justice into his own hands instead of allowing my lord or his
allowing
guards.
what your man to create rabble and further discord here at the foot of my lord Weswell.
And Westwell at that looks up and he says, "You've had your say, Janus. Now allow the alderman to speak." And the alderman looks a little bit pleased with the slight rebuke, but he says, "You keep saying that my man here was causing this rabble, and yet any of these witnesses whom you can call and I can call will clearly state that this conflict was started when the men of the church, those godless heathens who claim to be Christians, started rabble rousing. And then, of course, the actual godless heathens came in and they started instigating as well. And if it wasn't for your town guard here, it could have gotten out of control." And
yeah, I think if I can interject, Boethius would have made his way down. I wanted to make a little late approach.
Yeah,
when I
fashionably late, so that everybody will turn and look at you when you come in.
Adric, you seem to be surrounded by godless men. Are you claiming you're the only one here that has any fear of God?
And maybe to punctuate that, right, at that point, the doors open and Boethius enters, right? And maybe there's like another crack of lightning behind, and thunder behind you. But yeah, you enter the hall and everybody kind of looks up.
Now, I'm wearing my anger on my sleeve. It better represented as, I'll be a little gruff and then trying to, pull up my robe. It's all wet and soaking and I'm mud splattered. And I'm brushing myself off and I'll stop and look up at all the witnesses and the noblemen but I'll pin my eyes on the Lord. And I'll stop and bow for a second, and let that anger dissipate off me, and say, "Lord, I'm sorry I'm late. I had the injured to attend to," and then I'll give a scrutinizing look to all the nobles and anybody with this part of that display upon the hill that we just witnessed, but I would think that the Lord has, as I had said before, spoken. And if you look in your heart, who is the real guilty culprit. But my eyes is going to go across the whole scene of people. Okay. And then I'll look and for a seat and kind of gesture his okay. And if I can have a seat.
Yeah, well, you do so, and then Eric looks to, just venom on his face, daggers in his eyes, right? He looks at you, Janus, and he's like, he says, "Well, no, I'm not the only God-fearing man here. In fact, it is quite well known that this town is full of the God-fearing. In fact, we witnessed that miracle 3 years ago. You weren't here then, but I was." And he says, even the miraculous happened. Even many of the pagans converted to Christianity. So, yes, I do believe in God, and I believe God is on my side, and he will witness this today. And Westwald, you can tell, is just getting so frustrated. And he says, all right, enough talking. Janus of London, you stand accused of taking the law into your own hands and of causing the injury to this man. You have claimed 3 witnesses can speak on your behalf, one of which is Brother Boethius, who is now here. If you wish, I would be happy to hear your witnesses. We can question them, and then we can determine whether or not their stories match up with yours. And then he looks to you, and then he looks to Eric, and he says, and of course, Lord Eric, if you must, you can call any witnesses you would have as well. Does everyone agree to this?
I'll speak only one truth here. I'll stand accused. Yami was acting on my orders. So I will stand for whatever punishment you may find, but I don't believe Yami should be held accountable. No more than Vidar acting on your behalf would be held accountable.
And Lord Eric would just nod. Yes. Yep. Go ahead.
Boethius stands up and nods. And I'll fold out I'll let go of my holy symbol and fold out my arms. Supplication. And as you wish, my lord.
And he says, very well, then why don't you come up, Brother Boethius? Come to the front, and we will hear your testimony. Now, as you're making your way up, Lord Westwell kind of looks up, almost as if he's looking to the heavens, and then he looks back at you and he says, we have troubling accusations, but Master Janus has said that you witnessed the events of this man taking coin, although I'm confused as to whether he took coin from our very own alderman, Daedrin, over there, or if he took coin from the alderman of Howard Town. But regardless, did you witness anything to the like, and did you see any proof that this man, and he points to the Dane, is guilty of causing this chaos that erupted today?
My lord, and then I'll take it and fling my finger at this Dane. You say, I was upon the hill in the abbeys, at the abbey, and the Christians were there. They were concerned about Bishop Aethelwald being gone, and some of them felt the need to take it into their own hands, out of God's hands, out of your hands, and to do something about this. I advised otherwise. They did not listen to me, as all we have a tendency to be as human beings. And now look around everybody. But the people that have not converted, the pagans, and almost spit the word, they came up armed, I'm telling you, and wanted to suppress this, however, foolish notion. But in the midst of this rising tension, these two giant of a men, and I'll point at both, stood in the throng of the masses and began to clash steel. My lord, you know as well as I that the Lord, even if he uses the ignorant, can give us understanding about who is in the right and who is in the wrong. And though these pagans and this foreigner, and I'll point to Yami, do not believe, I believe myself that it was of God to determine which way we should go. And if this man, and I'll point to Janus, I'll point to Yami. If this man belongs to this man, then they stand in the right. And then I'll pick up the cross and kiss it and look at him.
Yeah. Okay. Lord Eric really wants to say something at this point, but and he's about to, but again, Westwell silences him, and he looks to you and he says, "Yes, of course, Brother Boethius. God will make all things clear in time. But I have a further question. So, by your own testimony, you say that when you were in the church, you witnessed these Christians speaking the way they did, and you witnessed the armed pagans come in. But at this point, no violence had been committed, correct? They were just talking. They were rabble rousing, so to speak.
They were talking, one with the intent, and the other prepared with the intent to put down. The pagans, as it were, came bearing arms. They had progressed further along this track toward ungodliness.
Okay.
The Christians were but a step away.
I hear what you say. But what I need to know was, did either of them, before these two men engaged in combat in the square, did any of the pagans or any of these Christian fanatics engage in any physical hostilities?
When the two giants came to blows, it set the keg aflame. It was the spark that ignited the potential in both of these groups. As far as accepting money in pay, I don't know, but as far as I see this, little to be learned from this. We should focus clearly on what God has shown in us through the victory. And then I'll point toward Janus.
Yeah.
Of this creature, this man's creature, and I'll point toward Janus.
Yeah. So interesting. The Westworld seems a bit surprised when you mentioned the word victory, right? But then he looks and he says,
"All victories are the Lord's."
Yeah, and he says, "Indeed. Just one more question for you, brother. Did you witness who started the fight between the two giants, as you called them? What was there provocation? Was there what? How did it happen? Who struck who first?"
Lord, I will speak on that. I ordered Yami to bring the man to me. Yami attempted to bring him to me. I will clarify that. There is no doubt my man acted, but he acted as we were trying to stop what he was doing.
I did not see my Lord, but I heard.
I would also say, Lord, what I do on your behalf. You are surrounded by serpents, and I look at Eric, and I look at the Dane, and I look at Daedrin. You are surrounded by men, I think, who have little faith in you, Lord. In London, when something like this occurs, on behalf of our king, we will do what we must to protect our king. That's all I did.
That sets off an uproar among, especially Alderman Eric and Alderman Daedrin, because one is like, you see, he admits it, and he stands here taking justice into his own hands, and then Daedrin is like, he refers to him, or he likens the Lord to a king. You see, it speaks to the hubris of the Washburn line. Yeah, and they're mad because, of course, Janus is saying, like, these are serpents, right? And so Westwell knowing he has to get this under control, like he bangs something on the big table, like his like big mug or whatever. Quiet. And he looks to you, Boethius, and he says, "Okay, you're dismissed."
My lord, and I'll back off and walk back to my side.
Yeah.
Where I've been sitting.
Yep. And so then he looks over to Vidar and he motions for him to come up. And he says, "Now let us hear your testimony, Vidar. Tell us, is what the man Janus of London says true?" And Vidar looks to you and he says, "Well, yes, my lord, in the sense that he came to me and told me that man," and he points over to the Dane, "had taken coin in a way that looked very suspicious, and he was concerned that he might be causing trouble. But when I arrived at the town square, the chaos had already broken out. I do not know who it was that attacked who, so I cannot speak to that. All I can speak to is the fact that, one, I did witness our alderman Daedrin speaking out of place, as he is wont to do, or known to do, and his son making a drunken fool of himself. But as to the events that lit the spark, so to speak, that I cannot speak to, for I did not see it." And Westwell thinks about this for a minute, and he says, Okay, I think that's all for now. And then he looks around the room and he says, "Somebody go fetch Samantha Pratt. Bring her here. She is said to be witness to these. Bring her in. In the meantime," and he looks over to you, Janus, and he says, this is, he kind of, not so much as a proclamation to everyone else, but more just for you, although he's not intentionally like whispering. He says, "This is not looking good for you. I understand what you were trying to do, but nobody can take the law into their own hands. Not here." And
then you, my lord, ought to end this farce now and declare what it is you want for punishment.
And
why waste our time?
And he said,
"Everything I did on behalf of your county."
I'll stand up at this moment and excuse myself with "there are wounded to be tended."
Yep.
Putting a little exclamation point on that, and then I'll back out and
okay.
Abby.
And so, right. So, all right. So you're able to, you kind of get up and they let you go. And Westwell has this, he's a bit surprised at the proclamation, Janus, that you just made. And he looks a little bit troubled, but he says, "Well, in that case, do you feel that there is anything that Samantha Pratt will be able to add that would exonerate you of these charges? Because so far, nothing I have heard proves anything."
I dare not. I would not speak for Samantha. I would not put words in Samantha's mouth, but I will say she certainly can bear witness to the fact that I gave orders to Yami in Arabic. She would not know what I said, and that Yami pursued my orders to bring the man to me, to end the rabble and bring the man to me. And if you see that as a bad thing, then you, Lord, are not yet equal to the task at being Lord. And I see why these men have little faith in you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. So that sets off the second outburst of outrage. And Daedrin, at this point, he's shaking his head. He's like, "Yeah, see, like he knows what's up. He's agreeing with you," which is funny. But of course, Eric is like, "What? How he speaks against my lord when my lord was trying to show him mercy and justice? This is, And so finally, as this happens, again, the door opens, and for a second time, it seems the lightning and the thunder crack as it opens, and it kind of illuminates the shadow of Samantha. But for a moment behind that, Janus, you would definitely again see the figure of this holy person, just for a split second, almost as if the silhouette of Samantha coming in was that, and then it, the way you perceive it, it almost materializes into Samantha, right? And she comes in,
Right.
And the Lord, mentions her up, and he says to her, Samantha Pratt, you have been called to stand witness to, instruct us on what you witnessed today, with Janus and his man Yami and the events that took place. And so he says, tell us, what is it that you witnessed today? And so she recalls, exactly what happened, right? That you came to her, that you told her this. And she says, I didn't witness what happened in the courtyard, but I don't know that matters, as it seems as though Janus has clearly said, yes, indeed, he did order his man. But I will say this, and there's like this hush that comes over the room, and she pauses for a minute, and then she says, as you know, I being the owner of the most prosperous tavern in Dredgetown, I hear many things from many sources, and I will say that I have heard from numerous reputable sources that this Dane was paid to instigate strife and cause trouble here in the town. That I will swear to, but I do not know if he had done so at the the events of today or not. But I would say this, it does seem that although this man Janus is not from Dredgetown or the surrounding lands for that matter, he does seem to have the right of it, my lord, at least in his perception of the events that took place today. And, it's like, what? Eric is like, how could she say this? She's biased, because he's brought, his spices have brought her custom, and, she's benefited from his relationship, and she would continue to do so, blah, 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 blah. And finally he's like, shut up, and so finally, Westweld asks if Lord Eric wishes to present any witnesses or any clarification. He says, no, I need not. Janus has admitted with his own mouth that he did instigate the events that I spoke of. He's injured my man, and I wish for, at the very least, for compensation to help, because now my bodyguard can't, he's ineffective until he heals. But more so, he says, I want him banished from the town. Because he's clearly a troublemaker. And so Westweld, you could tell, for a split second, he almost smiles at that. But he manages to keep his composure, and then he says, very well, I'm ready to pass my sentence then. And so he has everybody rise, and he says, Janus of London, you stand accused of taking the law into your own hands and dispensing the Lord's justice without permission. That offense has been, or the accused who has suffered because of that, or his man has suffered, has requested a payment to make his man whole and banishing you from the town. And my judgment is that request will stand. You will pay a sum to be determined later to this man as recompense, and you will be asked to be removed from the town post haste once the recompense has been paid, and you will not be allowed back into the town unless there are special circumstances mandated by me or by this council. And so
This is
yeah, go ahead.
this is fair, Lord, as I was planning on leading your man on the hunt for Brother Ethelwold or Bishop Ethelwold in the morning anyway. One more duty I was to do for you.
And he says, "Yes, it does. It does seem that that God has smiled upon you. Although I fear that you will not be able to complete your mission, as unless something changes, you will not be allowed to enter these lands again, unless you are to be taken into custody and held in the stockade." But you get the impression that this is very much like this is what he's supposed to be saying, but this actually works out rather favorably for him and you in the sense that it does get you what you want. And so he asks at that point what Lord Eric thinks is a fair price. Lord Eric tries to name an outrageous price, at which Westweld says no, like, stop it. And so he makes a slightly less outrageous request, but still somewhat outrageous, of 25 silver as recompense, because he doesn't know how long it will take for this is his bodyguard, or so he claims, to recover. And so then Westwold will look to you, Janus, and he says, "And do you have 25 silver, or can you procure that?"
If I did, I would not pay it. His man is not harmed any more than he could have been, as we spared his life. For his life, I would pay 25 silver. I will not pay a sum like that.
Interesting. And Lord,
if he wants the refund, take the coin from around the neck of his Dane. That he can have.
And he says, Lord Eric says, "What kind of justice is that? Taking coin from a man who was a victim? No."
I have yet to see justice here, Eric. But I will have it later. Rest assured.
And then they say, well, the Lord says, "If you will not pay, as is my judgment, then you will spend the night in the stocks, and in the morning you will be banished from the town, and we will seek other means of compensation." And he says, "Now,
will not bringing back Bishop Ethelwold be all I can repay? Would that not be a bounty enough for your court?"
And he says, "Indeed, but bringing back the bishop, if you can bring him back," and does the sign of the cross, will still not undo the events of today. But that is not something that we need to speak about today." And he looks to Vidar, and he motions with his head, "Take him to the stocks. At first light, he will be escorted out of the town." And then they will move in to do that. And would Yami react at all? Because they intend to have Yami there with you as well. Yeah.
Yami knows that we're in illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very aware. And but I will, as they take me in hand, I will tell Yami in Arabic that he needs to take flight to a secure location, preferably the boat, for the morning, and prepare the ship for sail.
Oh my God, you're going to tell him to run?
No.
Go
to
okay.
the boat and wait till morning. Right.
Oh,
yeah,
well, no,
take flight to the boat, the fishing boat.
They intend to have him in the stocks right along with you, because he was the one
okay.
he was the one that actually committed the act. So, so they would be trying to corral you both into the stocks for now, and then if you put up no resistance, then they will take you.
No resistance. No.
Yeah. And so I think that will happen. And then, Brother Boethius, as you have exited already, you do have that that paper or what might be correspondence still in your pocket?
Yeah, I've got it in my head.
Look at? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna just waiting to do that. But
Okay.
anyway, no. What I had did was go up to the Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm waiting on word for at least to see if my ride is potentially there or not.
Yep.
But why I had left was to go up there after I check on everybody, make sure that they're all right, and the other brothers are doing that. I find a little secretive, like my little alcove, light a candle, and take this. I guess it's a a tube with. Is it a tube or paper or what?
It seems almost as if it was like a stack of papers that was wrapped in like a waxy type paper and sealed with a wax seal. So with the intention to keep it safe from the rain, but it isn't in a tube, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that it was halfway destroyed. So, it's got mud on it, I'm sure, if it fell out and whatever. So I will rinse it, break the seal.
Yep.
And then start undoing the papers to read.
Okay.
So to read what was going on and and just let it fall on me.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so as you open it, you see a letter in a very neat hand, right? Very well. You can tell that whoever wrote this had practiced their handwriting and their letters and whatever. And it simply starts, my esteemed father, please instruct, or please give me word, give me counsel. Why is it that you're all, that the Northmen have been invading my lands unimpeded and seemingly coming through your own? Please send word. Otherwise, I may find myself besieged and without a throne. And she says, your obedient daughter, Marianne. And underneath, it gives all the titles, but essentially it's Queen Marianne Osbert Leinster, right? The Queen of Ireland. And so you would know that her father is the king of Northwich, and so she's basically like, dude, what the hell? Like, why are these Danes coming into my lands from your kingdom and raiding? Like, I need help. And you can see that this, and she says, that she's had to leave Dublin, and she's been wintering, or I guess it's spring now. So she's been in her other palace, I think like the Southern Palace or whatever she calls it, more in the English lands, not so much in Ireland anymore. Because she's like, I had to get out. They were raiding. I fear that my capital will be taken over by the Danes. Like, I need help. So this man was in possession. This Dane was in possession of that letter.
Okay, so this was written to her father in Northwich, right?
Yes. Yep.
And asking him for aid, or why did he?
Well, more of an explanation. She doesn't. Yeah, she's not directly asking him for aid, but telling him, look, if you don't do something, I may not have a kingdom left.
Just because she's being
because there's a lot of Danes invading into Ireland, and she can barely keep control of her own capital, let alone from the clans, right? Let alone Danish invasions. So
I set down the papers on my lap and breathe a sigh and look around, in the candlelight, thinking what to do. I'll put them back together. Mm-hmm. And put them in a pouch. That's when I go outside to look over at the overlook, the vista, and I would notice that the torchlight, because this is later on in the evening. Yeah. This is dark with them leading someone to the stocks, mm-hmm. And I can only assume that things went awry. In fact, I'll ask one of the small, you know what I mean, one of the little allocates or whatever that
acolytes,
get in there,
sure.
and give me the information of who is in the stocks exactly. And so when he returns, he'll let me have that information. Okay. I'm going to go see if I can get the Lord's attention. Mm-hmm. So I'm walking back down there. I'm not stopping at the stocks. I'll try to stay out of their view while I go there to the hall, and if I can gain entrance.
When you tell the basically the guards, right, what it is you seek audience with the Lord, they say, unfortunately, you can't. He is retired for the evening. He will see you in the morning. But he did leave this, and it's a small note or letter for you. Hopefully, this will clear everything up, right? And they hand it to you.
Okay. I will open the letter and read it.
Yep. And with no pretense, no formality, he basically says, for the love of God, get him out of here alive and shut, forcibly close his mouth if you must, but find our bishop and bring him back safely. And so you can tell, I mean, you know what this is, right? It's the Lord saying, get Janus, once he's allowed to leave, get him out without any more trouble, and, and find the brother.
I'll turn on my heel and go down the hill.
Yep.
And I'm going to the stocks for a second. I'll approach and almost like I'm just giving prayers for those in the stocks, and walk up to Janus.
Yep. And keep in mind, this whole time, the rain and lightning and thunder have been coming down harder and harder. Like, it is really starting to storm. And at this point, people are starting to get worried, like the river might start to flood because it's been a hard rain. So, but anyway, go ahead.
And Janus looks in this particular situation soaked. His black eyes that are normally black, deprived of oxygen, are far worse. His lips are blue, and wheezing audibly as you approach.
Can your ship set sail, Janus?
Pulls out
now, or do you speak spiritually, or do you mean on the morrow? Because I must tell you, you will have to hear my final. You will have to hear my final words, because I definitely feel like I will not survive the night.
I look both ways, on the morrow, man. In fact,
that's if I am living on the morrow. And he coughs up some phlegm. You can see phlegm, as he's coughing.
Yeah, coughing. I don't even take a half step back, and I'll lean into you. We need to do this hastily. Will your man here be able to man the boat and head us north?
Oh, Yuri and his son will man. My man Yami would escort you.
Okay, I'll look both ways and see if anybody is out there. It's coming down fairly heavily, right?
Yeah. Well, so you're in. So the stockade is such that it would be, at least provide some cover from the rain. It would be, like some cells, so to speak, but rudimentary, because obviously, like, if they were putting you in real prison, that would be a problem. So yes, but nobody.
Yeah, when you said stocks, I was imagining hanging in the stocks.
My apologies. No, I didn't mean the stocks as in like a hanging. It's more so like that's where you would be, but what they have is these little like cells where you would wait upon the morning, because they don't really have any other place to put you, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Right.
Right. Yeah, they don't have
justice
jail
here
space.
Is harsh. You either get killed, you fight, or you get hung. Right. So yeah, so you're in this like little like locked room, so to speak.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Boethius,
Still
you'd be
miserable and
undercover,
wheezing
but it would
as-
still be
yeah, right.
cold. The rain,
Right.
the mud would be
Yeah.
all over it. Yeah.
Yeah, the
it's
rain
bad.
itself is
Yeah.
what's really killing me,
Yeah.
right? The moisture, the humidity.
Okay. Well, when I look around at the rain and everything like that, and it's less to worry about the rain. This rabble wants to get word of you. They'll strip you, down and take your life. Are the guards in the morning? So we need to get you out of here as quickly as possible. I cannot lose my ride.
Then you better pray to your God, because I don't know how you will get me out of here.
Okay, I'm the locks on this thing. Is there any how I'm examining them?
Yeah.
So yeah, when I do that, and I'll look to see if they're where the guard shack may be, or whether the keys may be.
Yeah.
And
So there was one guard, and he he was he's not like right next to you, because there's no way Janus is gonna like escape, right? There's no so they're not guarding him, right? So what he does is but where he's posted, he's getting wet, like he's not too happy about this, and so he kind of looks over to you, and he takes the ring of keys off his belt, and he hangs them on this nail on a post, and he says, "Oh, I have to go take a piss." And he goes off. But like he caught your eye specifically before he did that. So you kind of get the impression that he's like, look, I'm not going to say nothing's going to happen here. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know how the prisoner possibly could escape. And then he leaves, and you're left alone.
Well,
except for the snoring
yeah.
drunk in the other cell. He's going to be hanged on tomorrow for theft.
Okay, and I gathered my things at the ready, and I'll go over there, get the keys, and unlock them both.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
to
and
the
you.
boatman.
By the way,
And
you and
Yuri,
Yami would have been cramped into both. Like you both
Yeah.
would have been in that cell.
Yami actually has to carry me out.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna make speed, he has to literally carry me, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever he needs to do, but we
Right.
need to do it fast.
Right.
I'll hang that on there, and say a slight prayer for the guardsmen who may be, you know what I mean, may get the short end of the stick on this deal.
Right.
You know?
And I'm assuming they didn't strip me of my valuables when they locked me up.
Well, you do not have your weapon, and neither does Yami.
No. But like my rings,
didn't.
my silver rings.
No. They didn't take any of that.
So I'll slide one of the silver rings off and hand it to Boethius. Here, set it where the guard will find it.
Okay, I turn around and reluctantly kind of, and then I'll put it there, right?
Just curious,
So,
did you put the keys back on the ring?
Yeah, I did.
On the
I did,
nail or
and
whatever,
and I'll put the other ring on the nail
on there too.
with it,
Okay, right.
Like it was a deal. First, I was
Yeah.
like, no, I ain't gonna do it. And I was like, no, this is a deal between them two. I'm not
Oh,
involved.
man.
You know what I mean?
See,
So,
and
anyway,
what I love about this is Jason's like, oh, man, I'm trying to do a good thing here. And clearly they're going to be like, wait a second. The prisoner's gone and this expensive ring is here.
Well, hopefully the guard isn't stupid enough to let him see the ring, right? But hey,
That remains
that's a
to be
luck roll.
rolled.
That would be a luck roll for me on behalf of the guard.
Yeah.
Right.
If you
It
want to
reminds me
make that
wrong,
roll,
yeah.
you certainly
Yeah,
can.
because
if
the
you care
guard
about
may
the
make
guard,
out
yeah.
just fine.
All right.
He'll get reprimanded, or he could end up,
Yeah.
in deep shit. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm trying to pay him for what he did.
Yep.
10 plus 1 luck, 11. I
All
got an
right.
11.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay. So that's actually good. Okay. So you guys are making your way out in the streets. Now, nobody's out at this point because it is just like coming. I mean, it's like a freaking storm, right? And you can see like the river is not calm right now. It is very heavy. It's moving fast, and Yami has to kind of carefully pick his way through the streets because the mud is just like every footfall it tries to suck his boots down into the
the
street. And so, it's a squelch, 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 but he manages to, carefully and with as much haste as possible, bring you down to the docks. And you can see the boat, the little fishing boat, just, rocking there. And the man and his son, who normally do that, they're huddled down. They're just like, they've been told, like, be ready, but oh man, they're worried. And so as they see you coming down, now, are you carrying like any kind of, a torch wouldn't even work at this point, probably.
A walking stick made of an apple orchard branch, you know what I mean? Okay. But other than that,
no, that's fine.
And a patch hanging on my side.
So as you approach, they initially kind of jump up, ready to defend their boat if there's a problem, because they had heard the carrying on earlier. But as they recognize Yami and then Janus, they say, "My lord, is it time to go?"
And coughing and spluttering, yes, we must off, as I am a fugitive from justice, Yuri. We must off.
Oh. I'll stay robed a little bit with my cowl above me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, that's bad fortune indeed, my lord. Bad fortune in this storm.
The river runs fast. We shall move very quickly in this.
Indeed, we will.
You will be paid handsomely upon the arrival in Northwich.
And he gives you this wry smile, like, if we arrive in Northwich. But I must ask, my lord, and as you guys are getting on the boat, he's preparing, but he's saying all this stuff while they're moving. If we hit some rocks in the middle of the river and we capsize, will you still pay me?
I'm drowning standing here, man. Oh, and I scoff up a large phlegm ball,
Yeah, and he's like,
I'm going to drown whether we go or we don't go.
He's like, God be damned, let's go. And so him and his boy, they kind of heave off, and the boy looks really, really nervous. Like, he's never they would typically not sail in this condition at all.
Right.
And I mean, the boat ride out of town is about as awful as it can be. I mean, you feel like at any minute you're going to capsize.
Right.
But the last thing before, I mean, you could barely see the town as you're leaving it in your wake, but the very last thing that you see before it completely disappears from sight is another big old bolt of lightning, right? And it illuminates like the sort of the silhouette of the town. And you can swear, and both of you see this, but you could swear that you see this lone man like standing on the dock, just looking at you, like, and I mean, it looks just like Janus, the same figure you saw before, and Boethius, obviously, you believe
I've never seen Bishop Aethelwald, so I just keep seeing this.
Yeah, right, you just see the countenance of Bishop, what you appear, what seems to be a holy man.
Boethius may know who it is, but for me, it's like, who is that?
Yeah.
I shudder. You don't know if it's from the rain, the cold of the rain, or the sight. You know what I mean? And then I'll turn my eyes away.
Yeah.
And clasp my ever diminishing holy symbol in my hand. You know what I mean? It's like white knuckling it and shivering. Okay. And move faster. Put your backs into it. I'll say as I hunch over.
And so they do, and as the night, I mean, it seems like the night just lasts forever, but the funny thing is, as you make a little bit of distance away from Dredgetown, it seems that the weather calms a little bit. I mean, it's still raining and it's still quite, blustery, but it is, at this point, it's much more of your sort of typical, like, English spring rainfall, just a little bit heavier than it might be. But the water is churned up, and it is taking everything that these guys can do to keep you from capsizing, right? And so this is so funny. I keep rolling on the chart, and I keep rolling the same number over and over again.
Yeah, that happens, especially when you're rolling 10s, 11s, 12s. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, here we come. And so At some point, it's maybe an hour until dawn. But the river, you've gotten to this point where Giannis knows that there's going to be rapids. There's going to be some rocks, and he will not navigate that in the dark. He's just like, nope, it's not worth it. We're going to crash if we do that. So he beaches, and he says, listen, we'll be okay until light. And once first light appears, I should be able to get us back on track. We can make our way most of the way to Northwich from there, and then we may have to, disembark a little before that. But he says, but I believe that there is, yes, indeed. And you can see that there's some cliffs and stuff, right? You're kind of in this like hilly land as you go further and further north. And so there would definitely be like caves and rock outcroppings and all that kind of stuff in here. And he's like, I think if I remember, yes, there it is. And he kind of points a little. You can't see what he's pointing at because it's dark, right? But he's, yes, it's down there, as if he thinks you know what he's talking about. And there's a cave down there. I used to store barrels of fish there in my younger days to prevent the Northmen from stealing them. Yes, but I suppose that would be a place we could stay, keep us dry. It's free of bears. Don't worry.
A smuggler's hole. And I'll smile, but although I look like I'm literally 3 breaths from death, and I'll put a hand on Yuri's shoulder. Yes, it seems I did contract the right man and his son. A smuggler's hole. Yes, good.
I would never say anything so indelicate, but yes, I suppose it could be used as such. Anyway, and so he says, but I know the way. Don't worry. And at this point, they'll beach the boat, right? They'll kind of bring it up on the thing. He's looking at it. He's like, yeah, I think, okay, the water is not going to rise so much that it'll bring it back out and we'll lose the boat. And so he says, okay, follow me. And he says, it should be clear of bears, but just in case. And he pulls out this dagger and he hands it over to Yami. It's, it's just a kind of a normal dagger or whatever, not much, but he's like, but just in case it isn't. But as you get close to the cave, the thunder is still booming and there is lightning from now and then, but you start to hear screaming. You hear what sounds like probably a woman screaming from the direction that you're heading. And what did you say the guy's name is? Giannis?
The captain of the boat's Yuri. His
Yuri,
son is Cole.
Yuri. Okay.
Yuri and Cole. Yeah.
Okay. So Yuri stops dead when he hears this, and he's like, "Oh no! What is that? Is it a banshee? It could be a specter." He's starting to get really freaked out here. Right. But he stopped dead. He doesn't want to go on any further. But you hear the continued shrieks and yells of this woman, supposedly.
Boethius is kind of echoing his.
Yeah. In Arabic, I will tell Yami, go find out what this is.
And he looks
find this these screams.
He looks at you and he looks back at the dagger. This is it's not even that well made, and he's like, well, just this? Oh, fine, but you gotta pay me more.
It's a woman screaming. She could be screaming at mice, man.
And he says, listen, I've been in these lands long enough. These women do not scream at mice. They are hardier than that. But I will do as you say.
Then. No. I'll take the dagger from him. And,
no, he won't give it to you. There's no way. Unless you want it.
I'm reaching for the dagger, trying to get it from him, and coughing up phlegm and
I'll take
blood
care
on his boots.
Wheezing audibly. Boethius has not been very audible at this time. He's been very skittish, and his eyes are darting around. Seems to be holding on to his sword. Very much the same as when they left. But, any kind of jostling, like the boat pulling up or them telling him he's got to get off, he definitely kind of snaps out of it and then rejoins them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's his situation.
Okay, and so Yami now he puts, I guess he would have to probably put you down. Like, are you even able to stand at this point, Janus?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get the dagger from him to go.
Oh yeah, and
yes.
he's like,
no, it wouldn't take much for him just to push me away.
Yeah, he won't let you take it, but he will look over to you, Boethius, and he'll kind of maneuver. He's speaking in Arabic, but obviously you can't understand him. But he'll maneuver Janus so that he's kind of leaning on you. I don't know if you would want him to do that, of course, because Janus has the sickness. But regardless,
I'm kind of unaware of that. I'm preoccupied with other things. So when Janus bumps up against me, I'm kind of snapped out of it for a second there and look at him. But right now I'm a little bit docile. It would take a little bit more than that. But I'm not readily able to hold him if he falls off me or whatever. But I'm kind of anyway.
I think it's probably a situation where like Janus has enough strength to stay upright as long as
and coughing and spluttering. I'll wheeze into his ear, Boethius. Where's faith in your God now, Boethius? Come now, have faith. And I'll cough and splutter.
Now, when you say that, it does attract my attention, and I look aghast at you or whatever. And then, like first, I'm looking you rebukingly, and then it's more like self-questioning in my own eyes. And then I start to mouth the words, "Where is my God?" And then I'll look around as I do that and kind of get lost off and go back to where I was. Okay.
Yeah.
And you actually, and I don't know if you can tell me if this has ever happened to you before or not, but you actually, you're thinking that phrase and it's as if you receive like a divine answer. It is, you hear a voice that says, and you said like, "Where is my God?" Basically, like what's going on? Is that? Yeah. And so you hear the answer basically, "He is in your heart and in your faith, and you must trust in him and his plan." And it's definitely the voice of, you remember it to be the voice of Bishop Aethelwald. And thinking back on it, you remember this, like he hits this in every sermon he gives you, right? You and everybody. But like, it wasn't like a memory. It was almost, it feels like, he was
tactile with audible.
And in fact, it sounds like he's like speaking right behind you.
Okay. Yeah. Whenever that happens, I turn.
Yeah. Janus almost
over my shoulder, and then I stand and I'm shaking a little bit. But in my mind, I take it as like that memory, So that thing that's haunting me is given a little bit more weight with that what just transpired. But otherwise, I'll look around unsure, and then right now I'm starting to, even while Janus is laying there coughing and everything, I'll start to fill my pockets and make sure I brought everything and kind of bring myself out of the stupor that I've been in, right? And kind of reorientate myself. So I'll be going through those processes. And a little bit I asked Janus where, and I look around at Yuri, I don't know his name. Where are the boatmen, and where is your giant?
Yuri and Cole, they're right there, but Yami has definitely gone ahead.
Where's your giant man? I'm asking Janus.
Yeah.
I look at him and I say, "Do you not hear the screams, man? Wake up!"
And you don't. And the screams have stopped at this point.
And that's when I'll realize.
What screams?
Did you not hear the screams? And I'll cough, and I'll bark to Yori and Cole. Fetch me the eucalyptus leaves and make
screams. No.
And we must.
Why have we stopped? Why are we not hitting?
Yami investigates screams, and I'll point in the direction we heard the screams.
Yeah, and actually, as you point, you now see, and again, it's still pretty dark, but you see a figure who you assume is Yami because he's pretty tall, coming back towards you. And I think at this point, the father and his son, they would probably have some torches. Maybe one of them, probably the son's going to find the eucalyptus leaves, like you said, but the other one's holding up the torch, and he says, "By the gods, who is that?" And then it reveals it is Yami, and he's carrying somebody in his arms. And as he gets close enough to you, you realize that it is a female. It's hard to tell the age of this person, but I mean, she's fairly small of stature, and he kind of comes in, and you see that like his arms are like just covered in blood, and she doesn't seem to be like all covered in blood or anything, but his arms definitely are, and he kind of this young woman, she's young, she's very young, maybe 12 years old, maybe. Yeah, and she, you know, she's just got this like she's not all there. She's
right.
delayed,
Catatonic
she's shocked.
almost.
Yeah, he puts her very gently down on the beach, and as he kind of comes back up, like again, you can see he's got fresh blood like on his hands, like it looks like he ripped somebody apart. And he went in, he comes over to you, and he kind of hands the dagger back. And
Yuri knows that I will never ask him his business,
or Yami. But he says he looks troubled. I mean, you know, and he's like,
is the dagger also covered in blood? Okay.
What's wrong with your man? And I'm leaning back
in Arabic. I'll speak to him in Arabic quietly through heavy wheezes and gasps.
What has he done to this girl? And I'll try to go up there.
I'll snap a hard look at Boethus. I guarantee you, he's done nothing to the girl.
Look at him, but he's covered in blood. I'll go over there and try to wrestle the girl out of his grasp. You know,
no, he put her down. He put her down. Yeah,
she's
sitting like, and she's literally huddled up, like with her arms around her knees, kind of just rocking back and forth.
I'll check her eyes and start muttering prayers as I'm looking at her.
As soon as you start to approach her, she starts to scuttle back like as fast as she can. She is terrified of you, but once she realized, like, you kind of have your holy symbol and you start saying prayers, she realizes
you're a priest.
And
it's all right, my girl. It's all right. It's all right. I'll keep back while she's scuttling backwards. I'll kind of coddle her a little bit and kind of caress her and rock back and forth with her.
If you try to touch her at all, she recoils from the touch. Like, she does not. She seems, if you just talk to her, she seems to be okay. But every time you kind of reach out to touch her, she flinches, she jumps back, and it takes
me 2 or 3 times to get that message. Once she's clear, I'll just default to just talking to her, and I'll put up okay, what has happened to you?
And you get the impression she doesn't. It's like she doesn't quite understand what you're saying. At some point, she starts speaking, but it's not in the English that you guys are typically used to speaking. This is definitely one of the older, more northern dialects, perhaps from Ireland, from the Scotlands, like somewhere
Welsh.
up there. Well, maybe Welsh, yeah.
Welsh.
It doesn't. Well, it's not quite as tongue-tying as Welsh.
Even today.
No, well, because they have like 16 consonants with no vowels, and and that's just the name of the town.
I mean, she responded to me since she knows I'm a priest.
Yes, but she can't. She doesn't. She has a few words in English. She's and like it's taking. You could tell it's taking everything she's got just to like have any kind of coherent conversation. But she says, pray for me. Pray for me.
We shall pray together, and I'll kneel in front of her and put my hands together.
Yeah.
The steeple and start saying, and I'll try to reach out and grab her hand.
And again, she flinches back. Yeah. But she'll sit a little further away from you, but she's definitely huddled in prayer. But like she's like shaking like a leaf. And you realize like she's literally just in like a shift, and it's torn. Like she doesn't have, it's cold. It's a cold night. It's wet. Like it's awful. And so she's probably just like, damn near freezing at this point.
I'm trying to discern what actually happened to her, and I'll earnestly pray at this point to see if I can discern anything.
You
especially from this voice.
You have a pretty good idea what happened to her.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I mean Yami, like, and I don't know if Yami would normally be like this, but Yami looks really like disturbed about what happened.
Yeah. And again, in Arabic, calmly, I'm attempting to get from him, is the child now safe? Are we safe? I'm not interested in really hearing
what
a story.
happened. Yeah.
I want to know. You've dispatched the problem.
Yeah. And
he
basically
I'll
is
turn
like,
around with this look on my face and make an accusation that Yami's the one who, violated this child. You say he did nothing to her, but look what he's done.
Janice will smile at you, Boethus. It has not been long enough for him to have done anything to this poor girl.
I'll get the girl's attention and point toward the giant and see how she responds. And like him, you, trying to make the correlation for
her. Okay, actually, if you will, make a luck roll for me. You'll get an answer either way, but I'm curious to see a few things here.
That's 6.
Okay. She is. It's very difficult for her to really comprehend a lot, but she senses your urgency, and when you're pointing to him and then back at her, she doesn't exactly know what you're saying, but she goes like this, like she's trying to indicate to you that this man is and then she's like trying to figure out what to do, and then she like starts tracing in the sand with her fingers, and you would recognize it as like a very crude drawing of like an angel.
Okay, I stand up, kind of taking this in the stock, and I'll look back at the giant and then toward Janice, who seemed like much help at all, and I'll draw my line in the sand. She is my charge. You will stay away from your giant. And then I'll lean down and start talking to her, trying to coax her a little bit. Do you understand me? Back over my shoulder toward Janice.
Right. Yeah. And you get the impression that as long as you don't touch her, she won't flinch away from you. But yeah, she's definitely in a bad way. As if to... Yami had been almost oblivious to all of the stuff that Boethus was saying, but he does look back to you with like haunted eyes, and he's like, "We cannot spend the night in that cave. No one can spend the night in that cave." And then it's at this point he realizes like he's got his arms and hands are just caked in blood, and so he goes over to the river and he starts to like clean himself off a little bit. And then
I'll stand with all my strength, what I have. I'll stand and I'll bark to Yuri and Cole. We should move downstream just a bit further, a bit further away from here. The cave is not safe. Boethus, do you hear me? Coughing and spitting. We must, everybody in the boat, away from here.
And Yuri's like, no, the cave is fine. If there was a bear, look, he would have killed it. It must be fine.
So Janice will stumble over to Yuri and put both hands on him to kind of hold myself up and look him in the face and say, "Then you need to go to the cave now."
Oh. He's like, "Okay, where's
right, man? You cannot have it both ways. Into the boat."
He's like, "Where's my dagger?" And he's going to go, and then as he starts to make his way, Yami
I'll stumble away, and I'll flip the dagger hilt toward him, and I'll hand him his dagger hilt first.
As he goes, Yami comes up out of the water. He's like, no, like, don't go in there.
And I'll
but
in
he
Arabic
won't stop
bark.
him, but,
Yeah, in Arabic, I'll bark, "Let him go. The fool believes the cave is safe." Cole, and I look at Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything you want to say to your father, Cole?
And he says, "Be careful, Papa. Be careful."
I'll look at him now over my shoulder and stand up fully. How are we supposed to navigate the river now?
Well, and
have faith.
Yeah.
But with this, maybe you should say some prayers on behalf of our captain.
Oh, I was going to ask
You should counsel me on faith.
Someone must counsel you on faith. You have lost your way. You have done
Oh,
little prayer for us on this journey.
You assume too much, Janice. And I say it spitefully like that. And I'll almost reach down to hoist the girl up, and I'll stop beforehand and say, rise.
I bet he's a damn dirty pagan.
Rise, child. So we'll start stomping off toward the boat, because in my mind, whatever transpired with her is the cave. I don't want to bring her toward that if she don't even want a human touch. So
yeah,
let's get to the boat.
Yeah, so you'll kind of motion her to the boat, and she's like, no. But if you kind of persist, you're like, look, But I did want to ask. So Janus is somewhat of a worldly man, right? You do obviously speak Arabic. Do you speak other languages as well, or would you be conversing at least in a little bit?
I would, but it would depend probably on a mind check in these areas.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, I mean, maybe French, Arabic, more foreign country stuff.
I know enough to do some trade.
Make
to exchange business. Right?
Do make a mind check for me then, please.
12 plus 1, 13. So critical success with a +1.
Okay. Why don't
I'll take it.
Yeah,
it's not often you get that.
So I guess so. In two in a session.
2 in 1. Yeah.
So she speaks you recognized her speech, and she definitely speaks the sort of the Gaelic languages of Ireland and Scotland and whatever. And so tell me how it is that you are fluent enough in those languages that you could converse at least well enough to do business in those lands.
Having worked my way up through the how do I say this? Brittany, the Greater Brittany on the on the mainland, right? Mm-hmm. Having worked with Gaelic clans, more as more as individuals who lead or would escort me, or to not so much in trade. There might be some barter, some trade, but mostly from clan to clan or village to village with a guide at some point during all of my trials, right?
So like just taking a nice vacation in Scotland, wanting to see the sights. Okay, I get it. Avoiding the plague whenever possible. I got you. Cool. All right, yeah. And so so you can tell she's like, no, I don't want to get in the boat. I'm scared. But it's at that moment Yuri will come back, and like he's got a very similar look on his face that Yami did, and he's like, "Yep, must have been a bear. Those two, they were ripped apart. Looks like a bear, but I didn't see the bear anywhere. What did he do with it?"
I'll look at Yami, knowing full well who the bear is, and then I'll look at Yuri. And I'll say, Yuri, all that matters is the bear is not here. The girl does not want to ride in the boat. So you and your son are going to have to take the boat downstream, say 1/4 of a mile, and we will portage along the river here with the girl.
Okay, if that's what you wish.
And I'll issue orders to Yuri to escort Boethus and the girl, and
to Yami
Cole,
or to
no, I'm going to tell Yami.
Yami,
to
okay, yeah.
Follow Boethus and the girl about 1/4 of a mile down upstream, and and with Cole, and I'm gonna ride with Yuri in the boat because I couldn't walk it.
Yeah.
And so Cole will be with the girl.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell the boy, is about 15. Make yourself available to the girl if she is curious or is in any way in need of your assistance. So I'll tell Cole, kind of leaning on his shoulder, and not speaking to Boethus, and I'll give the orders to Yami. Just follow them, make sure they are safe, and we'll meet you 1/4 of a mile downstream. and I'll climb in with Yuri and tell him let's off.
She yeah, and you do that, and she doesn't seem like she can walk very far at all. She was able to take a few steps here and there, but she mostly, when she was like, getting away from Boethius, she was scrambling on hands and legs, and eventually, Yami would approach her, and she lets him approach her. And he very slowly, he's going to start to reach his arms down, like to pick her up. And this would be very, very noticeable, Boethius, because it seems like she trusts him enough that she will let him, but he has to literally carry her because she doesn't seem to have the strength to be able to walk on.
Well, I've been trying to get her up, even though I said stay away from us. Whenever I don't see at first, I would bolster up to him. But if he was just stoic and bending down to pick her up, and she was more receiving and wasn't fighting it, I think it may take a little bit, but he would pick her up, and then I would follow.
Yeah,
with the frame of mind that he better not do anything against her. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not myself. I can't take him out.
Right.
So I'm not going to follow that line of thought. But I'll be her guardian angel, as it were. That's what I'm, set my position as.
Yeah, and you remember, and I think we'll probably wrap it up here. But you remember, especially in the early days of after Aethelwald was officially ordained as the bishop, that he kept talking about how even though the pagans and the non-believers were needed to be brought into the faith, it didn't mean that they weren't doing God's work on this earth, and that we could, you had to judge each man by their character and their deeds and whatever. But he's like, don't automatically distrust the pagan or the non-believer simply because they haven't found God, because it is his disciples' job to spread the word to the non-believer, right? The Gentiles, so to speak. Not, God will not necessarily impress upon their hearts automatically. And so it was this message, and it sat very well with the pagans of that era, or of that area, right? He's basically saying, listen, like, be peaceful with them, talk to them, spread the message, spread the gospel, and give them the benefit of the doubt unless they show that they can't be trusted. And so you're getting that, like, it's almost like memories, right? Like sort of distant, but you kind of remember, like, God, he preached about that a lot. Like eventually we were like, man, we get the point. Yeah.
It would be more like a gnat to me, though, to tell you the truth right now, because that's but like if you're saying those tendrils of the previous
it's just memories that are somehow infecting.
That I had, kind of build a wall up against. They seem to be creeping over that wall and going into me. But right now, it's more like I'll be halfway distracted at that as I'm following Yami. It'll occur to me at some point, and I'll be cursing myself along the way that I left my pigeon inside the boat. You know what I mean? Kind of covered up, and hoping one of the lugs don't overturn it or set on it or whatnot, right?
Yeah,
so
no,
I'll be doing
that is a holy pigeon. It's the Lord's pigeon. It'll be okay. And so I think that with that, like, as the sun starts to come up over the horizon finally, as day breaks and the clouds start to dissipate, the rain stops, and almost as if a juxtaposition to just the terrible events of the day before, it, with a new dawn comes new hope, right? And even the girl seems somewhat heartened by, the sun on her skin, and you're able to travel a little ways down, and you find a little inlet where there's like it's like a small, almost like a path where like trappers and hunters might have walked. And Yuri would say that off that way a little bit is a larger road, which will lead to villages right on the border of Northwich. And there you could either like portage the boat over the land to the next river, or they could leave it beached here and then you could go overland from that point. But they were saying that at least you'll have nice weather to travel. And that before sundown, you should be able to make it to at least one of those villages. And but the further north you get, the girl starts to get more and more agitated, and finally, she's getting to the point where you guys have congregated again, and Yami basically brings you over to her, Janus, and he's like, "Do you know what she's saying?" And and you listen, and she keeps saying like rapid fire, like Scottish, but you can understand a couple of the words, and she keeps saying, "Danger, the witch, the witch, the witch. You can't. There's a witch. Like, watch out." And so
while she's saying that, I'm like right chestedly kind of getting up close and like I said, put her down. I told y'all not to be near her, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of distracting that way while Yami's trying to tell you that. Okay. So
yeah, I mean, and Yami would be completely ignoring you
I
probably,
listen. I listen to the girl, and then I look at Yami, and in Arabic I say she is just still in shock from what she has had to deal with of recent, as you well know, Yami. And then I turn to Boethus, and I say, she will calm. Time heals all wounds, Boethus, unless you want to say a few prayers and aid her healing. Ignoring, I won't speak in her language, and I certainly won't acknowledge or share with anyone what she's saying.
Okay. Set her down so I can care for her. And I will.
You would have to tell Yami to do that. He would. I mean, eventually he'd put her down.
I'm telling you to tell your man to set her down.
Yami, relinquish the girl, put her down, allow her to rest. Boethus clearly needs her grounded to work his spiritual magic upon the girl.
I'll gesture toward her. I'm kind of being a little bit standoffish. I won't touch her right now, but I'll kind of clear a path and a way for her to sit down. And then I'll sit beside her and kind of, do a visual assessment of her, make sure he didn't touch her. As I'm glancing over my shoulder, and then I'll like make the pray gesture and let her. And I'll say, "Pray with me," because she obviously understands those words.
Yeah, and she would, and then maybe afterwards she would motion like that she's hungry. But so maybe as you guys are fixing a breakfast on the road to be able to get your strength up for the next day's travel, because you had to travel all through the night, so you'd be exhausted at this point. But
that's what I was going to say earlier. I forgot to that I didn't get any sleep.
None of us would have.
No,
so we would almost want to rest.
And the boat and all the walking and everything like that, and my agitation.
We might want to rest during the day here.
Yeah, and it might not be a bad idea at least to depart midday, because at that it'll give the road a little bit more time or the moisture on the ground to kind of dissipate a little bit. Yeah. But there will be one final sort of not a vision, but those words in your head, Boethus, as you hear words, something along the lines of, guard your hearts and your mind against those false prophets and sorcerers that will try to deceive you. The true man of God must always be true to the word. And it's almost as if this is just boring into your head at this point. You're getting this ominous feeling about what's to come.
when I'm hearing this, it's like a phantom thing. I'm going, no, 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 stop, stop, stop. Coming to myself, and I have been saying this throughout the whole time as I've been haunted and kind of hounded by this. But those words specifically and how they're translated to me, you'll see me calm down, and I'll kind of rocking back and forth while I'm praying with her, because it just kind of hit my head again. And I was going, no, 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 no. And I'll stop and kind of split a little smile.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'll kind of rest it right there.
And the scene, the camera would pan away and, up to the heavens, so to speak. And, I think as it's looking down, you would see, the silhouettes of Yami with these angelic wings and Boethus with this forked tail. And no, just kidding. But it would again just leave with this sense of warmth and beauty and calm and peace that these warm spring days have been of late, providing, with the exception of last night. And so with that, I think we'll close out this session.
Nice.
Yep. Calm before the storm. I can already see.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
That was.
I saw your text afterwards.
I was like, damn.
Sometimes you feel like you're on the road.
Yeah. Janus is like, you know what? I'm just going to piss off as many people as I can just to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, Jason will do that.
Yeah.
Janus is defending himself, defending his belief he's right?
Yeah. Well,
Janus acted in good faith that he was doing the right thing.
Well, and what was really funny, what was bending my mind is I was trying to think back, and I'm like, I think Yami acted first. I don't think
he did.
That. Yeah.
But I told him to. I said, bring me that man by any means necessary.
I was like, damn, did the Dane actually do anything in witness of others?
Himself.
Right. And so I was like, oh no, this is going to go bad. He's going to, So
but that doesn't change Janus's idea that he's wholly knows that this bastard's up to no good.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I may be wrong, but we go through life that way all the time.
Well, yeah, and it's the idea, the injustice of those of wealth and power being able to, basically play by a different set of rules, right?
Sure.
Whew, that was bananas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But again, this is why we go naive narrator. This is why we have already we already earned a space. We've already got context. We've already established characters. We've already established what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And no way did we know that was going to end up in a court, the court of the Lord.
That was crazy.
This is what's so amazing about naive narrator play.
I can see the sweat going on. Dabbing you.
I know. I was like, damn it, what is he doing to me? I'm like, this is crazy. Get
me on the roof.
Yeah.
We have no clue where it's going, right?
Well,
it's just
put him in the stocks. I was like, put him in the stocks.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the right word, but I was like the stockade, or what is it called? But
yeah. When you said stocks, I was imagining hanging.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. But I was like, you're not going to hang. It's just that's where they would put somebody before the hanging, right? And so as they're getting ready to do it, because you want to have a spectacle,
or just punishment. Right? They might hang there for 4 days while people throw shit at them.
That's true. Yeah.
And then they're free,
They could crucify you. I mean, that could be fun too. But
the Romans would. The Romans would.
And so I was like, I need to get you out of here. They're gonna strip you down of everything. They all his rings off your hands.
Oh my God!
Yeah. You say the stocks, but this is the beauty of it. You don't have to pull punches. Like if he's saying that, and when he was like, dang, Dill's got that thing. I was like, yeah, Boethus is literally going to sit back and see how this turns out for him. I almost stayed there, but I'm going to go read that.
Yeah.
Just in case I need to pull. If they throw him in the stocks, I have to play that card. I'll let the Lord know.
Yep.
If we got to put this on the front burner and take care of him later because he's my way up north. But I didn't want to give that to him if I could utilize it for my own leverage.
Well, and I really
So-
wanted to highlight, and it was interesting how it worked, because I wanted to highlight in that moment that Westweld is not bad at playing this game. Like he's actually
Well, Janice thinks so.
yeah, he's pretty
Severely.
good at,
And he's beginning to see. He's beginning to think Lord Eric and Lord
yeah.
Gatrin
Oh, right.
are
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well-
they're the right side of that coin, right?
Yeah. Well, and so
Love
I
it.
think that, what you said about like you're surrounded by Janus said you're surrounded by vipers,
Yes.
right? And it was like,
That was the tell off of what I said.
Yeah.
Like God's, it was the
Yeah.
other side.
Well-
The serpents.
and it was like that's 100% correct, but like you can say that, he can't,
Yeah.
even though he knows that's
No,
the truth,
sure,
right? Because
sure.
he's like, oh God, these are my boys. But yeah, so just like this won't give anything away, but I'll tell you, I rolled. I think the first one I rolled was Vision of Bishop Aethelwald. So I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the hell to do with
Oh,
that,
really?
but okay.
Nice.
And then I think I did. Where was the next one? The next one was. Oh,
Yeah, you
I
really-
think I did Missive from Ireland to Northwich, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
what Dell discovered in the mud.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, how the heck am I going to work that in? And then I got, I think, then it was Hard Rain, then Screaming from a Nearby Cave.
Love it.
And then the last one, which I'm sure you can guess, but I'm not going to say.
Witch
Uh-huh.
in Gaelic.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch.
The Witch, yeah. So it was like, whoa, that was so wild. And it was
The
hard
only
because I kept
question here
rolling
is
the
the
same
witch
ones.
the little
but-
girl, or is there another witch out there?
Well, she seems to think that you're
'Cause I think
heading
the little
towards
girl's
a
the
witch.
witch.
Oh man, yeah.
That's what I said. I mean,
I
really.
mean, we listen. I never asked Yami, did you kill somebody? She as a witch could have killed those two men, right? So I purposely did not ask Yami, dude, did you kill somebody?
I was like, this is going to throw up another character because if he takes that ship, I'll be going down there trying to. I would have literally taken those rings off of him and then paid that ship. That shipwright to take me north. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Put it this way:
Because-
somebody killed two somebodies in that
Right.
in that cave.
You know what? You know what I
Maybe,
love about this? Number one, I love that it's completely and there's truth. Once we say it, there's truth.
Yeah.
Once it goes out there, it's truth.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
And we don't know anything else.
Yeah,
But what I love about the Dark Ages is this sense that no matter who you aren't really in command of your own life. You're not really
No,
in command
yeah.
of your own. I mean, this
Correct.
is what I love about the Dark Ages. Why
Right.
we have a prestige system.
right.
Prestige 4, what I say to Eric is, I'm an equal. I can say to
Yeah.
Eric, fuck off, but get out of here, buddy, right? Because
Right.
I'm his equal. But
Yeah,
but there's this prestige piece, and you don't own yourself in
Yeah.
this world, right? It's just so much fun because you are. But again, I'm going to play it as a
Yeah.
character, as a person in this situation, trying to best to
right.
whatever. But that's part of what I love about this particular setting. Why we chose
Right.
it is there is this sense of a greater world that no matter how badass
Yeah.
you get, there's still a king. Right?
Well,
there's still the
Yeah,
Pope.
yeah, but
you're
I mean,
he's ballsy.
yeah,
You know,
and like,
your
but even
character.
those guys can fall at a whim,
Yeah,
whether
of course.
it's
I mean,
to
this is
a pestilence or an
it's,
assassination or old age or whatever,
and,
right?
alliances
And,
are tenuous, and
Yeah.
it's the littlest thing can make an alliance, but obviously that can change on a dime, right? It's just so it's the
man.
perfect setting for this kind of
oh yeah,
gaming, really.
I'll go ahead and say this, okay? Because it's a little bit like I know that you had a real tough, like that court scene was rough between you and dealing with Jason doing that character. You know what I mean? And then a lot of times when you're on a more of a linear path, we have a tendency to say, "How am I going to get them out of this tough situation?"
Mhm.
But when you're playing a game like this, I knew I had that thing up my sleeve. I didn't want to show it, but
Right.
I also.
You don't have to
Okay.
decide anything, Sam. You ask us to make rolls
Well,
against luck, rolls against
yeah.
spirit, rolls against prestige.
yeah.
So when I
But-
called them vipers, you could have said, "Dude, make a prestige roll."
well,
Right?
so I
Against
could
the
have,
14 or
yeah.
something, right?
I think that what
and then that would inform you how
Yeah.
Weswell appreciates what I say, right? Or doesn't appreciate what I say.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I don't think I rolled the dice but three times.
Yeah, you only rolled a
Combat
few times, I think.
and two 12s.
Yeah.
So I rolled them 3 times and
You had
got
good
2
rolls.
crits. Yeah.
The reason that I didn't call for dice rolls that because I was thinking about it, but I think that the previous session we had established that Westweld is very convinced that they need to find the bishop and that without the bishop, so in my thoughts, in my mind at this point, like he will pass judgment and they don't like, they weren't going to kill you. I mean, you didn't kill the guy, right? But they don't, but if Lord Eric is intending to sow chaos, right, then, and you had been seen somehow talking, you'd been influential in the town, so he wants to get you out of there. And the king is like, or the Lord is like, you got to get out. Because I think Dell had it right when he's like, these people are going to come and do things to you and kill you if you don't.
Sure.
Yeah,
I fully
so
anticipated
to me it
Yami
made
would
sense
have to
that, that he was like, oh crap, like you're in jail. Let's
But-
orchestrate this. Yeah.
And that's the other great thing. You're
Yeah.
role playing Lord Wesley, so you
Yeah.
don't have to ask for dice rolls because
Right.
you are in character,
yeah.
thinking like he's thinking. So there's no need for a die roll. Then it is quite literally role playing.
Right. That
Me
put me in a tough spot
Fighting,
though.
in a way, fighting for my
Right.
well, not life necessarily,
Yeah.
but fighting for my what I think's right, what I think I
Yeah.
did for him, and you're in the character of Weswell. So that's role.
Yeah.
That's role playing.
Yeah. That was
And
hard.
you said
because,
it
man,
put you in a top. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and this is what I hate to say it, but this is what 90% of role players don't want to do. They don't want
Right.
to actually role play.
Right. Yeah.
He said it put him in a tough spot, and that's all I'm talking about, because
Yeah.
I could feel the tension there, and I've been there too. Like I
Yeah.
haven't played with Jason breathing down my neck. You know what I mean? And you go like, yeah, you have to just kind of. It's the beauty of it that it's not necessarily a linear path. You literally just find out the story of this one dude, whether he sticks his foot in his mouth and gets hung in the gallows or not. It's totally up to him. And so you can have that. You need to just shed that stress off of you and say, oh crap, I guess he's going to do this. And like
that wasn't the stress. No, I literally was feeling stressed because I was in the head of Westweld and I'm like, this fucker is just making it harder for himself. Like, because Westweld does not want, and so to me, I wasn't like, oh, Jason is like, putting me in a spot. I'm like, I'm like literally Westweld being like, what are you doing?
Because
like,
I'm Janice.
I know.
Janice
exactly. And I'm
did
like,
the right thing. Yeah.
He's trying.
That's
he's
what I'm
looking
talking
at,
about.
Yeah, he's looking at daydream
from character's
like,
perspective.
Yeah. And Eric,
You're playing the character, man. When I first did that thing, like when I said roll for Westwell, is because when Jason and I said, okay, playing with Sam, let's see where we can stretch this, because we knew we have a confident presenter in you. And so I wanted to showcase that whenever you're playing as a presenter, that you are playing these characters genuinely as a player. What would they do? And that is what you have to jump in that headspace, and they can get tight in there, especially when you're making decisions. So you just freaking do it. And then, like I'm saying, you don't have to worry about it. Just like take a moment by moment. And I know you know inside of Westwell, whether he's 20 years old, whether he's got to show out the other ultimate, or whether he has to do what he feels is best to this guy that has to go get eighth the wall. So it's like that, But the funny thing is, I go off. I'm like, either he's going to get lynched or he'll be in the morning to take me out. And I was like, I'm going to go off and read this, break the seal, read this sucker and find out what's going on. I didn't say a word to my Lord about that. See, because I'm going to let you know, as far as my character, you can just say that spies, the network of spies inside of the priest and church in the Middle Ages, that's primarily, where you get that at. So as far as that aspect of my character folding into play, you know what I mean? And how I would approach a situation or look at it like, okay, what's going to happen if Art's already thinking that. And he's my only ride up there. And I got reasons for getting up there myself, aside from Janice needing to go up there and get healed. I could give a hill of beans about that, but I know he's, I don't really know it all that much, but I know I can use him as a tool.
So yes, I'm getting a very Assassin's Creed vibe here, but also I swear to God, if we get to Northwich and we end up meeting the king and you're like, what up, bro? And you fist bump and he's like, hey man, and he throws you a huge sack of gold. Tell me what's going on. There's going to be lightning bolts and God's
But this is
fireball
everybody's
at you.
talking about role playing, and everybody's talking about how they don't role play anymore. I don't know. That's my point. They don't want to role play. They want to play lip service to being a character, make jokes, make subtle things, and then they want to rely on the dice for all of the actual role play. It's like, well, yeah, use the dice when it's something that would be unfair to just declare my character's hung in the. I mean, if you declared Weswell just says, you hang it on. Wow, fuck, I didn't get a roll, nothing, right?
Right.
But
make a save against
you're not seeing anybody actually role play out and live with the consequences of actually having to think. Show me a DM that asks a player to convince me through your character, not through your fucking dice rolls.
Right.
And I'm personally kind of tired of watching guys just wait to roll dice. I'm gonna go ahead and use bluff here. It's like, wait a minute. Why aren't you role playing? Why aren't you?
Well, and frankly,
in the character's head.
Yeah, right? It's because in a situation like with 5e, because encounters are structured in such a way, you have to use the rules to adjudicate things fairly. And so, the bluff roll is kind of the way you have to do it, because what it does is it allows the player to be like, well,
but
I might not
be a bluff roll in D&D. I play by the rules, but I demand they role play. Then we're gonna get a bluff roll.
I agree. And what's weird, and I've had a number of people say different things about this, but they were like, if you speak first and then roll, what happens? Does the DM ignore the speaking part, or does he roll that in as either a bonus and then if it goes bad for the player, does the player then think, well, crap, if I hadn't have said anything, would I have maybe passed this check, right? And so so to me, that's where it immediately just sucks me right out when it's like the dice. People say, like you were saying, I like when the dice determine the
rules for all of that social stuff. You don't have to role play.
Right.
Matter of fact, we're wasting everybody's time if you role play when there's social mechanics.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? When there is bluff and intimidate. Why am I in role playing intimidation when I know it doesn't make any difference how I role play? We're going to be rolling dice anyway.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
so I've said it before, D&D has evolved away from what it was, a combat game with role playing, into a mechanized, everything is mechanized now, not just combat, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we just adjust the target difficulty for the situation that was birthed out of the role play, and then you roll on that.
But that can be inspired by what. So if you're in Weswell's head and we're role playing, and you've set the difficulty for any potential test that might come up, say you set it at 10, because this ain't a good situation for Janice. He's a dead pagan. He's ordered his man. His own aldermen are calling him out.
Right.
His own aldermen are going, look, you're doing the right thing here, buddy. So I have put Weswell in a very bad spot, not on purpose, but by taking action I thought was good for his kingdom, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, your own aldermen are like, dude, this guy's a usurping son of a So
exactly.
I'm not thinking that way as I'm playing, but I can look back and say, holy shit, I mean, this is 20-year-old Weswell. So, but let's say you set the target level for any potential test at 10, and I say some things that Weswell says, yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Oh, you got 3 witnesses? Shit, I'm going to lower your difficulty to 9. You got 3 witnesses. Okay, now what they say and what you think they're going to say, that could raise it back up to 10. Oh, wait, Samantha says, dude, okay, I'm lowering your difficulty to 8. Okay. Right. Well, then I call them serpents and I call you out and say, dude, maybe at 20, maybe these guys know better than you. Maybe I'm wrong maybe I judged you wrong. Fuck, difficulty just went back up to 11, right?
Yeah,
that's why our game works. We're not asking you to roll and ignore role play. We are going to be adjusting the difficulty score,
because you don't want to turn the blind eye to the role play. The role play is
that's my point. But the role play is based on him being in character and me being in character. It's going to impact the die roll. Right.
Well, I'll tell you what.
The difficulty value. Right?
I probably should actually have called for some 1 or 2 dice rolls there, but I got so caught up in the role play.
I forgot
about dice.
And you want to know why? And you want to know why it was why we could do it without a die roll?
Yeah.
Because I didn't lie.
Right, exactly.
And you didn't lie. You didn't lie as Eric. You didn't lie as Adrian.
Everybody was telling the truth.
Weswell.
It was like, oh,
and I didn't lie as Janus. I told the truth.
It was the first time in the Dark Ages that nobody
truth.
lied at all. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but this is what's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how dangerous this situation was for Weswell.
Right.
My being truthful was harder on Weswell than if I had lied.
I know.
This would get more credence for the alderman to rise up against Weswell. So it puts him in a precarious situation, not only with Jason's character, Janus going like, that guy's a douche, you don't really know what, and then he can befriend the other ones, and you know what I mean? So you're looking at all this this intrigue.
Think about that. We had an entire trial with no dice rolls. Yeah. And none of us attempted to bluff or lie our way out of none of us attempted to manipulate the actual information.
I know.
To me, that's an amazing role. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And it was a legitimate punishment.
Yeah. I mean, it was, right? Yeah, it was crazy.
I thought it was a soft-handed punishment. I mean, because
to be banished from the kingdom.
You didn't care about it. You're traveling. You know what I'm saying? You would have gave.
Oh, but I do.
Except though that like.
When you said put him in the stocks, I was like, yes, and I'd like give him 16 lashes.
But that wouldn't have been the case. He kept talking himself
I thought
into
he was
it worse.
Say, Yami has to take. You have caused a wound to my man. Yami must take the equal wound.
Oh no! Well, so
that's what I thought. It was going to be an eye for an eye. You broke 3 ribs. Yami must suffer.
Yeah, we're not here to critique and what you do, because you were in the moment.
Oh no! I agree. I'm not taking it as any critique. It's really fascinating because. But you're right. It was, in a sense, it was a soft punishment, because that was Weswell trying to manipulate it as he could within the bounds that he was. Because right now he's in a bad spot, because not only did Lord Eric, who's fairly influential and probably fairly wealthy, who he needs to be his ally, is mad. And right now, like he said, I demand payment. Janus said no. Weswell said, we'll deal with it in the morning.
That's when I thought you would have to up the ante. When I said I'm not paying 25 silver for nobody died. I mean, the man wasn't hurt. Right?
Yeah. So my plan in that moment, Weswell is thinking, all right, we're gonna put this over till the morning, and then we will exact some sort of price. And what I was probably gonna do is have him confiscate any like remaining spices or whatever. But he so there was that. But so now Westwell's in the shit, because now Lord Eric's going to go to him and be like, "What the hell, dude? Like this guy's gone.
Where's my 25
You
silver?
owe me compensation.
Where is the fugitive?
And then Daedrin is going to be like, well, look at this, weak
stoking the fires.
Like he couldn't even exact justice. Like at least
the irony is we could return. We could return with Bishop Aethelwald, and we don't know what condition Dredgewater's going to be in return.
I mean, you'll get to be.
Weswell may be dead or in the stocks
it'll be
himself,
like, right? Lord Daedrin.
The bishop may be dead, and we're just getting visions of him.
Yeah,
you are.
All we know.
Yeah, you're getting visions.
I'm in complete denial that I'm seeing anything other than lightning flashes.
You keep seeing Yami's twin, right? Like every time Yami left, the twin goes looking for him, and it's like, but he keeps going further and further. It's like, I'm so close.
That vision would really screw with my character.
Yeah,
the vision really screwed my character, because it's literally when I start out, I pretty much was 70% one way, with a little bit of doubt the bishop had worked into my head.
Yeah.
But if you want to know, my allegiance fell with Falcon. I mean, you know what I mean? That's where it is. So I thought Aethelwald coming up here and doing what he did undermined something that was there. So I've got prejudices that's still there, but I'm a little bit of a spy. So you know what I mean? I'm pulling a little bit of Daedrin here politically. I mean, within the church,
for sure.
So I'm just saying, everybody has. It's great to be able to express your own character and their motivations and their worldviews, and then have that thing that they're trying to do, as well as within the context of the game.
Yeah, and there's consequences. I get to be Janus. I get to do what I think's right. I get to take action. I have no idea it's going to end up. Yami could end up dead in the street. This guy,
Right.
Yami could end up killing this guy. Doesn't matter. There could have been a court. There could have been a trial. There might not have been a. We're playing. We don't know what the world's gonna bounce back at us, right?
Right.
And I would have. So you may or may not suffer the consequences for being your character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But my advice to everybody out there who wants to role play.
Yeah.
Role play and demand that your players role play. They have to make an effort, and then leave the dice until it's but
until it's necessary.
you don't really want to role play. They want to play a game with some role playing element.
Yeah, and that's fine if that's what you're looking for, kind of a souped up version of a board game. That's okay.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I appreciate the most about this system. And I've said this over and over again, and I'll continue to say it. Mm-hmm. It really does flip that on its head, where this is a rule set that encourages and demands role play first and is supported by the dice, where I think a lot of the traditional systems now are the other way, that it's girded on a foundation of rules and dice adjudication, and role play is sort of the like, you can do this
lip
if
service.
You want.
It's facade. It's facade. It's just for entertaining everybody at the table. Right.
Yeah.
But you said it best earlier. What's the point if we're still going to roll the dice? Saying something caused the bluff roll. Not saying something, I would still have to make the bluff roll. So I just want to bluff. I want to bluff this guy.
Right. Exactly.
Why even role play? Right. So and that's the question.
Yeah.
And I think this is what's come from putting these things in, because I have heard this argument ad infinitum, dude, because I'm not good at that. That's why my character, I can't shoot a gun, but that's why I have a character who shoots. I don't have those skills. That's why I play a character that does have those skills. Well, nobody's asking you to shoot a gun. Nobody's asking you to ride a fucking horse. Nobody's asking you to fly a fucking plane.
Right.
I'm asking you to be a character. It's called role playing.
Right. Exactly.
Fucking play a character. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't have to talk. You don't have to act. You just fucking
get in that headspace and play that character. Yeah.
And if you can't do that, you don't want to do that. That's what that's about.
Right.
Yeah, you're experiencing things as Westworld.
Yep.
And you were feeling that pressure that he was feeling.
Oh my God.
You're trying to go contend with like these all your saving face, trying to get something done that you want done on the other end. And you're like,
I was sweating so hard. I was like, what the hell am I gonna do? Because he keeps talking himself into
Janice
worse
is like,
situations.
fuck. I've got 3 people I know that I saw shit. I got 3 people who know that I suspected there was going to be trouble. How can this guy not see I was acting in his best interest? So Janice is like frustrated. He's like, dude, don't you see it, you 20-year-old prat, you fool?
But the thing was that, like, the weirdest thing, the thing that tripped me up the most was everybody was right. That was the hardest part. Everybody was right. You were right, but so was Eric. Yeah, it was
welcome to the world we live in, right? It's there is no black and white. It's grays. It's all
like
grays,
I was like, yes, Westworld 100% was like, look, man, I get it, and I know that he's a shady mofo, but like, he's probably more powerful than I am right now, and also, I got this idiot, Daedrin, who's up to his usual antics. And my bishop's gone, and now there's chaos, and I'm like, what the heck is happening? So I don't know what is going to happen.
And this is why.
See, you don't know what's going to happen to him. That's so beautiful.
Right.
GMs have this stuff scripted out, like you were saying, but you have no clue, and you're lost in this. Like, oh my God, what is going to happen to these people? And you want to play to find out.
Yeah,
we're really doing that.
And I want to be a character to find out. Right. I mean, I'm literally saying, okay, what did I do wrong? Right. I'm working on behalf of your state. Right. Meanwhile, what I did wrong, I acted without authority, period. That's what I did wrong.
Yeah. And it was like,
but Janice doesn't, dude, doesn't what I was trying to do trump that? Right. Yeah.
Right. So, well, maybe. So what did it, Janice orchestrated this whole thing to get himself out of town as quickly as possible, because he knows that his ailments are just going to get worse. And he's like, man, I got to find this guy. How can I get out of here and not have to deal with this stupid fights? I know. You don't get banished. Maybe that's what happens.
I was actually trying to network with the aldermans. I
Yeah.
figured we'd have some role play when I'd meet the aldermans and I would try to sell my spices to these guys.
Yeah.
No, dude, I've made enemies of all the fucking aldermans now, right?
Oh man. Well, oh god, it's so bad. Yeah, and the thing too.
I mean, so much for those business deals. Those are fucking gone. You might as well kick me out because there ain't no business left to do now.
I know.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, like Dredgetown is pretty much a backwater anyway. Right. So getting up to Northwich, at least like that's a real king.
Right.
Perhaps.
Well, I'll feel more at home. Well, I mean, London's a little more metropolitan.
Yeah,
to
London,
some degree.
London,
Maybe not.
Well, London would certainly be the biggest city, and it's. I guess it would be full. So
I would feel more at home among a normal court.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, my character, not me, but my character.
I know it's great that I got a missive too.
Oh man.
Underneath my robe,
Yeah.
That ain't even played yet, but you can just think about the possibilities of that. Pop.
Well, we got to play again. We got to keep going.
Yeah.
You know that.
We're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah. I fully intend to. What's hard?
You're stuck with us for a while, man.
Look, I'm good, man. I've taken a long hiatus from running games, and every time I thought about it, I would start to get anxiety because, like, I mean, some of the systems that I like do tend to have a little bit more crunch, right? The Genesis or Star Wars, great system, but oh my God, it's crunchy. And Fate
in my
is
opinion,
cool, but
there's
Fate's hard
great...
too because it's
right.
Yeah.
It's harder to figure out because they put so much emphasis on the specific wording that you use and stuff. And then I'm like, Savage Worlds is awesome, but again, it's crunchy. And so I'm like, I just want to role play, man.
Yeah. Well, and so all we need
here we go
is that moment where Wesweld says, "Okay, all right, I'm gonna have to decide your fate." And to be honest, you dropped the difficulty a couple notches there, Jason, as Janice, but now you pissed me off by getting the alderman really riled up. I'm putting it back up to 11. Make a prestige check,
Yep.
10 plus 2, 12, right? So you would have said, okay, here's your punishment.
Yep.
And you can still be punished, but it might not have been right.
Yeah, and the headsman literally has an axe called the fate of the dice or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were all completely authentic. We weren't attempting to lie. We weren't attempting to change the facts. We weren't attempting to. That's what's amazing about it.
Yeah.
See, when you get in as character, like when we was playing, I love the Blade Runner RPG that we just wrapped up. But when I'm sitting there and I look at the abilities of the characters, it's listing, okay, you can run, you can crawl, you can do this. You know what I mean? So I'm not playing in character. I'm looking at suggestions,
abilities, right? Yeah,
at abilities of what my character could do, and so I'm limited. I'm focused on that. So it's a total different type of play. Right here, I am in a situation and I'm thinking, what do I do to get out of the situation? I'm not going like, okay, let me consult my list and here, okay, I can crawl out of this courtyard. I mean, this courtroom. It's just different. We don't even stop to consult lists.
It's funny because, I know a lot of people really believe the idea that like, okay, if you're playing, say you're playing D&D 5e, right? And you have a bucket of hit points, but you can still have that, your sphincter will tighten up when like a red dragon flies over, right? Your level 1 party. Yeah. That's scary, but that's scary because chances are, that like that the DM's going to throw down a whole fistful of those D6s or D8s, for his breath weapon. Like it's mechanical fear where I feel like in this game, like it's friggin' terrifying when you're like, oh my God, I'm in a mob. Like, if this Dane gets me down, like, what are we gonna do? Because
we're in a world that has threats from everywhere. Angle.
That's why I don't have to be
no matter how badass you get, you can only even damage wise, you can only take 4 wounds before you're dead.
Right.
So I don't care how badass you get, you're still human.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Unlike D&D, as you get badass, you become super.
Oh
human,
yeah,
right?
you do.
And now tell me that a guard in a town is going to stop me at level 12 from doing what the fuck I want to do, and I end up waylaying your entire night by just waylaying all your guards in your little town. And nobody wants to play with those guys, right?
Right. And it's like you go into the tavern
that aren't going to
respect
respect the guards when you send them.
What are you going to do? Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like that's what's cool about this is like even a king could waltz into town and all it's going to take is a knife in the dark or poison food or whatever, right? Like they're mortal, and you are mortal playing against other mortals,
right?
And that
the
is
challenges
way
there
harder.
are: does the poison work, or
right?
do you successfully mix the concoction?
Right.
Does it successfully get to the lips of the king? And so you're
Yeah,
still making
exactly.
rolls to poison the king,
right.
If
But
your goal is to poison the king,
right?
Yeah.
Tell me how you're going to achieve that. Then we're going to make a couple of rolls.
Well, and even if you do, it's like in many other systems. Yeah, you run out. Oh, the guards chase you. You have a fight. You spend 45 minutes mechanically doing math to figure out how badly you're going to beat these guards because you're better than them. And then there's usually
video games.
And then there's
right? What came
DM
first,
Fiat.
D&D or video games?
Right.
Everybody complains video games ruin D&D. Fuck no. D&D was always about rolling dice and hit point bubbles. Always.
Yeah, totally.
No different than a video game.
It was like, wargaming with a little bit of, it's like, what if we could play our Napoleonic wargaming, but in Middle Earth?
Yeah.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it always came down to hit points and dice rolling and mashing your sword button over and over and over again, right?
That's true.
I love what Genesis.
I mean, like our combat, I'm able to take the use of that pagan that he pushes aside for his spear, and on a critical success for me, kick the pagan back at him, right? Creating a narrative stain, right? Instead of hurting him,
right?
The pagan dies at the end of his spear,
Well, yeah, and that was what was cool was in this system where a critical doesn't just have a mechanical benefit. It actually impacted the story. And it actually, I feel like that was such a huge turning point because it was wondering, like, this Dane might really mess up Yami or vice versa.
Well, and he may.
Yeah, but when you did that, then and you got the critical, then I was like, and the way you described it, I'm like, okay, well, like, this is probably a full-grown human man coming flying back at this Dane. That's probably going to knock him over. And since I had already established that he had tripped in the mud, right, and took the leg wound, so then I'm like, all right, he's already probably off balance. The terrain is such that it is unsecure footing. And so it was great because that dice roll was actually able to impact the scene and the narrative in more than just great, you roll another dice for damage, right? Or
and that's what's wonderful about the crit, right? Yeah. Now I could have taken it further and said, okay, I could have said, okay, I chopped with that critical hit, I
was waiting for you to go bloodthirsty. I was like, man.
But what's cool is it's critical. It should affect the narrative, right?
Yeah.
And so I just said, well, a pagan's going to die instead of wounding him. And then you're able to say, well, it is a critical hit. We're going to roll this onto the ground and go from there, right?
Yeah. I didn't want
it is a turning point critical, right? I could have literally, a critical just means 2 wounds.
Right.
So he would have just gone from fatigue to the next one, and then he would have 2 left. So I could have just narrated something that put him 2 wounds down.
Well, he was
but I didn't actually cause damage to him at all.
No, he already took the 1 wound with the leg wound, and so that he would have been 3 down.
Right.
Yeah.
Now get this: when my character's looking at that to be like a battle between,
right?
Like the God will support the victor. And I see the pagan go down, which validates the fact that pagans are more of a virus inside that, right? And I see this foreigner, and that's why I muttered on my lips. So I guess God even can use the ignorant of him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but I'm looking at because Janice is the one who prompted him to do that. Admittedly, after that, so it kind of comes a full circle. But now I'm having problems with Janice, and I'm even pointing to the big giant, going, "Keep away from her," because I'm thinking that the girl's writing the. You see what I'm saying? So my mind is like everywhere trying to get the measure on this stuff.
Oh yeah, and then of course it's even worse because the giant, Yami is a pagan, although probably a Muslim, I would think. Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I don't know what year we're in.
Well, I mean, no. So we would be in what?
He's an Arab.
So
right.
He probably would because I mean, like
that's what I'm saying, pagan and foreigner.
Muhammad,
and
either way, he's non-Christian. He's non-Christian.
Exactly.
I think Islam spread in the 700s. So it would be.
Geez, I should know my history a little better than that. My
God. I think it did because I think
because the Crusades were the 1100s, 1200s, right?
Yeah, that was much later because so I think he could be,
but
very well.
He's still an Arab. He's still from the heartland
but regardless,
of, the birth of humanity, right? The birth of humans.
He saves the girl who presumably is a Christian.
Yeah.
She likens him to an angel, won't let the actual Christian priest like touch her.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And that's like, what made me think she's a witch, because I'm paying close attention to these actions. I'm thinking she's a witch. She won't let the Christian touch her, right?
I love how the players way overthink it.
So Janice is literally thinking this little bitch thinks she's cute. She's a witch.
No, you know what I saw.
And I'm still going to be thinking that.
Yep.
Because that's what my character's thinking. So no matter what, come session time, Janice will be on his guard with this little girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Boethius looked at her when he was talking to her and conferring with her. She reaches down and draws the picture of the angel. So I'm thinking that she's something special, and she's seen a vision, maybe akin to what I've seen, but maybe something different that she could enlighten me. Mm-hmm. So everybody is getting to experience their character from their character's point of view. And even like I said, whenever you're working inside of a group and you have different concepts of where you need to go, like I need to protect this girl for that reason. And it's wonderful. I mean,
that was one.
Well, and what you choose to bring out, either through character or through action, and what you choose not to, like me purposely not asking Yami, did you kill somebody?
Yeah. Well, it was quite clear. I mean, but
so
yes,
there's a it
allows Janus to think he might.
What if she killed somebody and he just rescued the girl, thinking he, I don't know. He didn't just pick her up, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, and so what was so great about that scene was, like, I really wanted to, as you said, right, in the Dark Ages is a bad time to live for anybody, and I wanted to highlight just how terrible life is for most people, but obviously I didn't want to do it in a graphic way, and so I'm trying to think like, how can I walk this line here? But it was so cool when you were like, I sent Yami in there, and I'm like, so of course I don't know anything about Yami, right? Because he's your character, but what I do know, or what I figured was, anybody who had any kind of conscience at all in that situation would act. And
damn straight.
And so I thought, okay, I presume that if Janus is a little bit of maybe morally in a gray area, maybe Yami isn't. Maybe Yami is almost like the the good to his bad, right? The angel sitting on the shoulder.
We're yin and yang.
Yeah,
Janus
exactly.
does whatever he needs to do what he does, and he bought this guy.
Right.
This guy may have a high level of integrity and honor.
Yeah.
And he may be a spiritual man, but he's under contract.
Right. Well, and so that's what, he's like, really? You want me to go in there? Because he's thinking there's going to be a huge bear, like, feasting on this girl. And, he goes in and, then he comes out and it's like, oh, my God. But, so.
But that's the other great thing. See, you don't know, because you're the naive narrator. We don't know. You can leave it vague for all of us.
Well,
all that matters is Yami comes back with a little girl in his arms, and there are two dead people in a case that Yami knows about.
All that matters is what we know.
And yes,
right.
And
I didn't
Yuri
ask,
knows.
so you don't have to give us any. You didn't. I mean, in session.
Right,
now,
right,
fine,
exactly.
in session. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So it worked out great. We don't have to know. All we know is, dude, Yami says we ain't going back to that cave. Okay, I hear you. Well, I trust you, brother.
That part was weird because I was like, he's pretty tough. He's like this warrior. Like, what would something like that rattle him? Or is that something where he's like, you know what? Like, my employer already can't breathe very well. If this makes him mad, is he going to die? And then I'm like, okay, that might not be so bad because then my contract is up. However, I'm in this land and he just made an ass out of us. So maybe I don't want to be without so I'm like, what do I do? But I don't know.
That's the other great thing. Yami only knows what I tell him.
Right.
I mean, I created a tool that I literally don't have to give information to, that I don't, that you, because he speaks another language, I don't have to, see what I'm saying? So in a way, and I told Dale when he texted me before game last week, and I said, I'm working on my character, and I'm gonna throw Sam some serious high level shit. And one of those high level things is I have an NPC second character that I'm the only one who can communicate with in this world. And that was, and I told Dell, I said, Sam will handle it.
Yep.
But it's going to be some high level shit, and it is high level shit. I mean,
well, it's really fun. to kind of see it as like, what do you want? Almost, it's almost a sentient extension of Janus, but not exactly, because it's like it's a second character, but kind of not, because of
he's
the
an
relationship.
NPC. He's technically an NPC.
Right. And so it's fun to sort of like say, okay, you do Janus, or you do Yami, but at this moment I'm taking over, and this is what Yami's gonna do. Yeah, and I was like, what, it was like screaming.
Right, but see, like, what's great about that is again, because we dictate some of the truth.
Yeah.
The boundaries are, we're in Dredgewater, we're in England, where nobody speaks Arabic. I made that clear. My character can't speak their language, and nobody else speaks it but me.
Right.
So yes, you get to play him from his point of view, but he's only going to know what I tell him.
And that was nice, because
which is what's so fun about it. It's challenging you at another level of naive narrator, because you're actually NPCing a guy who can't use any metadata that he hears from other people talking, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Well, I doubled that.
And I think you've handled it beautifully. And you've handled it beautifully.
Well, thank you. And go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have. I doubled down on that too. My avenue of approaching that was like I was talking about, real kind of pressing on the fact that you're dealing with NPCs, that you have to for you to be fully naive, you can't really know what our intent as a character. So you don't see our character sheets written out in our backstories, and you're not omniscient about us.
Right.
And we're not omniscient about ourselves. We're discovering as we go along. But especially in my character, it was really conflicted.
Yeah.
And almost under like a double identity.
That's what's so great about in-character authentic role playing. You're the only one who needs to know that, Del, because none of us are going to be privy to your internal dialogue anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's what's important. I've given more about it, but it's only to showcase the fact that for the last two sessions, that's what you've been dealing with, and you've been handling it. And it's really not, because everybody plays typically with a group that are all of one mindset, and as a GM what you're dealing with, and people inhabit a role. I am the tank. I'm the healer. I'm that. You play this role, but you don't role play characters.
Right.
There's no character development other than just the tertiary little.
Yeah. Leveling up. There's the mechanical level up. That's your actual evolution.
Yeah, and
I went from level 1 to level 2.
And it's like you can have those moments where you have very much like this style of role play in other systems, but it's so rare.
For years like this. I love basic fantasy. I ran basic fantasy for years, locally and online like this.
Yeah.
So, but there was no prestige, and the world itself wasn't restricted. So part of what makes this game work is the actual conceits of our world. There is this class structure, law. Right. Is it the rule of man, or is it the rule of law? Well, there's law, but there's still a lord who can usurp the law, right?
Well, and
he could say to his alderman, he acted in my best interest. Janice Neal, I'm going to knight you as one of the men of my court. He literally could have said, screw the law. Right. I am the law, right?
Yeah, exactly. I am the law.
Yeah. You said, hey, make a prestige roll, and I rolled a crit.
Yeah,
that might be what that looks like, right?
Right.
You men may not like this, but I believe he did everything in my best interest. And,
right. Well, no, you guys didn't know, but I deputized him already, so he was
acting. Right. I mean, Westwell could lie like hell.
They're like,
right?
What? I'm
could
sheriff.
Be a liar.
I'm sheriff of these here parts. Well, what's interesting though, what happens if we do take this rule set but set it in space? Right. You're in Dredge Station. Right, in the Ungland system,
the ship of Dredge.
We're in Dredge ship, you're, and so at some point Dredge. I might have to try that and just do like a space one.
Well, so how would I do it in space? I would do it in a military protocol. Yeah, that's where prestige would come. Your prestige would be your rank. So rank. So if I do space age of man, it'll be a rank.
Right.
0, you're a fucking private, you're a nobody, you don't go above their head, you follow rank and file.
It's like,
and then there's 1,
you ever heard of the chain of command? It's the chain I beat you with until you do what I say.
4, rank of 4 means you're exactly. You're the top man on the totem pole, right?
Yeah. We did that as a LARP before with Escape Velocity. It was one I remember right after work it just came on with said, well, let's try it in space.
Yeah.
But it was very much, we just sat down and it was more of a Robotech-ish mech type thing. That game's still up on the channel somewhere, but it was based in the same same philosophy. But like if Jason's talking about putting it in like a rule set, it needs to be something like what he's saying. But we kind of just did it off.
I feel like
you
can run this rule set in really any setting you want, because you're relying on role play. It's not so much about the rules as it is about the group and the buy-in to the
There's a couple of key things that must be done for this to work.
Yeah.
In Dark Age of Man, prestige must be adhered to.
Yep.
How you earn repute should be adhered to, and how the GM plays as a naive narrator and uses the random seeds. But prestige is a big part of this. It wouldn't work quite the same. Like, think about D&D. D&D only works because the players are all ultimately given this kind of leeway that they're heroes and they can do whatever, say whatever. They may get railroaded, but they have this sense that they're all equal, right? I mean, we're certainly living in that world now. We're not. My elf is as equal as your dwarf, and my fighter can do as much damage as your magic. Okay, whatever, right? So
no,
reality is though there's nothing in the world that actually gives them context and
when the rogue can deal more damage than my fighter. Right. So
and only the dragon is going to bring down the wily, pain in the ass group of players who won't adhere to what they adhere to in real life, which is there is a world with structure out there, and I'm only so bad until I'm not so bad anymore, right?
If I wanted to play a human, I would just play in real life. Right, exactly. Okay, so speaking of repute, I do want to talk about that because I think, obviously, well, I'll be curious to see what you guys think about it, but and then I'll have to wrap it up. But I wrote down for how to earn repute, find Bishop Aethelwald, which we did not do.
No, not correct.
Deal with
We've seen visions of him.
Right. Yeah, deal with bandits, which we really didn't do. Confirm Lord Eric's role in the unrest. We kind of did, though, with Samantha, with her testifying. She straight up said, yes, he was involved in some shady shit. So I could see that, although where I'm hesitant is the trial did sort of leave it ambiguous, because nobody then was like, oh, Lord Eric, we got it.
Well, so I called Samantha as a witness.
Right.
That's how that information became.
So known. I think
and it was witnessed in front of the entire court.
At least the majority of the.
You could conceivably give us repute for that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I think that at this point I think it's pretty clear, both in character and out of character, what Lord Eric's at least immediate goals are. So I would say that's fair. And then the last one I had was pacify or weaken Lord Daedrin's influence, and I would say that's a big fail.
Huge fail.
I
don't think we've weakened certainly even Eric. Matt, we actually failed to connect the evil doings to Daedrin. I connected it to Eric, which was really So we really didn't do any of those things except Samantha pointed out that Eric might be up to evil doings, right?
We got to realize that it's so malleable and views change. Like we've watched the characters do this, so all of a sudden, Jason's character is now looking in the positive toward that. Does that mean he's not going to refute as long as you quantify something being right? If we put down danger, you know what I'm saying? So you're going from your perspective as like an initial thing that we need to do that. So what is good and bad? Because generally, I can have, like I would say, ill repute. Or good repute is the renown that you have, and you're just being known for something you did, whether you're Robin Hood or whether you're seen as good or bad by either body. So the moral context shouldn't really apply that much. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. And I remember Jason in our campaign did give out ill repute at once or twice. I remember.
We reduced your prestige to -1 for killing Martin in front of God and everybody without explanation.
And this one.
So, for instance, my prestige is 2.
Yeah.
But you could, because I am now an outlaw, I have literally been cast out as an outlaw. You could, in Dredge County, my prestige could be a 0 or like a peasant.
Right.
Nobody would, right? So you could actually make a stipulation. If you're in Dredge County, your prestige will be 0, right?
Yeah. I'll say
that you can do things like that.
I'll say this. If you make it back to Dredge County,
If
well, because
I'm dying.
I don't
My character's
know.
dying anyway.
I don't know what's going to happen, but with these random seeds, the vision that I'm getting of what's going on, like we're starting to get to the point where it's the big level stuff, right?
Sure.
And
sure.
so, yeah. So I think with that, I will have to end it. But I very much appreciate you guys playing. I think we'll be on a little bit of a hiatus, but we'll come back sometime in September, I think.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully we can, start figuring out where our good bishop is and what's going on with him and all that. And see the machinations of all of these evildoers playing out.
Yep.
And hopefully have a lot more discussion about naive narrators and character first, fiction first, role play,
baby.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're doing a fantastic job, Sam. Seriously.
The first session was fantastic. This was 3 steps above the first session, dude. 5 steps above.
Nice.
The first session was great because we were in
that's what we're trying to tell you.
Yeah.
We're throwing some high level as far as us been playing this for 2 or 3 years this way, and we had to step up. You're handling some heavy stuff, some heady stuff, and doing it really well.
Well, I certainly did not expect to have a courtroom drama, but it goes to show the flexibility of the system. So with that, I will say goodbye to everybody and thank you again to my players. This was great, and we will